All right, everyone, welcome. Happy Saturday. We made it. If we can find anything happy in this insane world that's going on, I apologize for starting so late. This morning just went away for me. I spent the morning helping our contractors upstairs now, working on getting my flooring put in for the new attic, which is awesome. It should be done and ready to go next week. So hopefully by next stream, I'll be in the new space. Not that you guys will notice a whole lot different, but I should be able to get everything set up so that I have a lot less to do when prepping for stream. I had like no time to prep, and I took the daughter for a walk, then I had to get a shower in. It's just so many things. I just didn't have any time. Oh, Curly Bear. Wow. You're not late. I started late. I'm late, so you're right on time. I'm in my intro. Perfect. How are you today? Yeah, hopefully next stream, I'll be in the new space. I'll have everything up there, organized. I'm excited. You guys probably won't notice a whole lot different. Maybe my mic coming from a different place. I've got some more Elgato stuff to make things easier so I can, put things better. Arrange my lights and mic and camera better, but we'll see how that turns out. Looking forward to that. Nice to have my own space, not have to worry. He said we should have it done by Tuesday. Going through it, yeah, this is my first night back in my apartment. Oh, well, why are we out of your apartment? That doesn't sound like fun at all. Anytime you're outside of your house, staying outside your house is definitely not fun. Staying in hotels and stuff like that, ugh, takes days before you're ready. Floors were sinking and it got so bad I told the property manager. Oh, that's not good. I'm assuming you were on the first floor, right? You're renting a house, right? Is that what it is? Was like water causing things to sink? So we moved everything out and went to stay in an empty apartment above me. Oh, so it was an apartment. Okay. Wow, that's not good. Yikes. Yeah, thank God no one got hurt from that. An idiot. Oh, we hired an idiot to do the repairs. Oh, that sucks. Having a handyman who knows what they're doing is key to doing property management. All kinds of problems. Yeah, the guy we have working on our place, it's just magic what he can do. He goes from nothing and then it's a whole finished room. It's just amazing. If you're gonna be a property manager, you need to have a handyman who can do all the things right. Otherwise, yeah, it just increases how much you're going to pay for everything. And all my stuff is in a U-Haul at $0 a day. Is that $10 a day? Yeah, what is percent? $50 a day? Are they gonna reimburse you for that? Seems loud. Hopefully they're gonna reimburse you for that, because that's a depending on how long you're there, that's a lot. Because that's not your fault that was happening, so they should definitely have to pay for that. Pressure's on everything to get it done. Finally got rid of the idiot. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. Problems with the house is, it's really stressful. I'm glad you're back in and everything is okay again. For now. Hopefully. Cross our fingers. Cross our streams. And hope everything goes just fine for you. Oh yeah, there you go. Concrete dust. Yep, I'll have a bunch of cleaning to do once all the stuff is done. There's dust for everything up there. I have an old air filter from years ago. I might try and get an air filter for that, and after I clean, have that running for a while and make sure that the space is filtered out properly. So you don't want to get that stuff in your lungs or anything like that. Got to clean, got to filter. They should have cleaned. Yeah, they should have cleaned. That should have been part of their process. Finish the work and then clean out the dust and stuff like that. Yikes. Property manager isn't good. Handy dude isn't good. Sorry to hear that. Let's see. What else is anything else happening to you? Is that the only exciting thing that's happening to you? Besides all the garbage going on in the SCOTUS. Ugh. My wife is out and she's at a retreat. She's teaching and participating. I feel that feel on me because the pressure from landlord to get me out of the U-Haul and the empty apartment. Ah. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, that way. Okay. Well, going to see my son, his wife, and baby tomorrow. Oh, nice. That's always exciting. They just bought a house. Are they already moved in and everything? And are they close to you? Or is it going to be a drive for you? Carpet and knock down popcorn ceiling. Ah, okay. Still a bunch of work to do. Okay. Well, that'll be good to see them. 2.5 hours. Ooh, that's a drive. My sister and her family live about an hour and a half away or so. My nephew, he's quite the entrepreneur. He's opening up his second bar. He purchased the first bar from the owners, and then he purchased the second one, and he's opened that yesterday, I think. And my parents went up there to take part in the opening, which is cool. I didn't go because COVID. Yeah, he's quite the kid. Quite the kid. I wish I could go. I wish COVID wasn't here, but nah. Bunch of people not masked, not social distancing. I've tried to limit my access to people as much as I can. I did go up to see my family. Yeah, right. I know it spoils everything. I did go up to see my family a few weeks ago because it's my niece's, my sister's daughter's daughter. It was her birthday. She was like 7 or 8 or something like that. So we went up for that. Got a lot of pressure from the mom to go, so it's like, all right. I went. It was nice. It was great to see everyone. It's always fun. We get to see their new house too. She moved in. They're not quite married yet, but they're living together. Got her kids there, and it's a really nice house. Really, really jealous at how nice the house is. Yeah. So the cousins. Okay. So my her cousins. Okay, how can I do this math? So my sister's kids. Okay, so my sister's kid. So my daughter is at the bottom of my sister and ours kids because her kids are like old. They're all adults now. My daughter's 13. She just turned 13 actually. And then my sister's kids. Her daughter has 2, and her son, my nephew, who has the bars, he just had a baby this year. So yeah, she's the top of her stack, and the bottom of her stack, and then the top of the next stack, if that makes sense. Bottom of the whatever. Did any of that make any sense? So yeah, she's kind of right in the middle. Yeah, that's what you're saying. Yeah, in the middle. Oh, okay. Yeah, she's 13. She seems older with as much lip as she gives. Ugh. Ugh. But her birthday's been fun. We actually went to my parents' house on Thursday, which was her birthday. So she turned 13 and went there, and she stayed overnight there. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, I know. It's drama. But it's the way it goes. It's the way kids are. And my caption stopped. Why did my caption stop? Captions, why did you stop? Captions. Oh, where art thou, captions? There we go. They're back. Okay. All right. Let's get started here. We got some. I didn't have a time to put any of the posts out or anything. We've got some. First thing we've got here: Army drops requirements for high school amid diploma amid recruiting crisis. I can't do anything. I'm just so not with it today. Come on. This mic is just right in my way. Can't see what I'm doing. There we go. All right. Army drops requirement for high school diploma amid recruiting crisis. I don't know how that's a good thing. But let's see what they have to say. Well, it's a good thing that they're having problems getting people in to join. Ideally, there's a Facebook meme. Someone said something like, "We shouldn't be joining. We should be protesting outside all the recruiter stations," which I like that idea a lot. Do not join the military. Do not become part of the, especially the United States' military, to become part of the murdering of people of color globally for fun and corporate profit. Ugh. All right, the Army is tossing its mandate for potential recruits to have a high school diploma or GED certificate to enlist in the service, in one of the most dramatic moves yet in the escalating recruiting crisis hitting the entire Defense Department. On Thursday, the service announced that individuals may enlist without those previously required education certifications if they ship to basic training this fiscal year, which ends October 1st. Recruits must also be at least 18 years old and otherwise qualify for a job in the active duty Army. You must also score at least 50 on the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, or ASVAB. An SAT-style quiz to measure a potential recruit's academic ability. 50 on the test is a relatively low score, with 31 being the minimum to qualify for service. Combat arms jobs such as infantrymen and cavalry scouts need only minimal scores to serve, while admin work such as human resources specialists or public affairs require scores of 100 or higher. Previously, the Army would allow people to enlist if they hadn't finished high school yet at the age of 17 with parental consent. Those recruits typically wouldn't ship to basic training until they completed school. The change follows another shift in policy this week when the service relaxed its tattoo rules, allowing potential recruits to enlist with tattoos on their hands and neck, which previously needed waivers. The Army and its sister services have scrambled this year, offering increasingly generous benefits and policy tweaks in an effort to improve recruiting numbers. The Army has hit 40% of its recruiting goals this year, with the struggle to fill the ranks seemingly so grim the Defense Department reduced its planned total force size because prior recruiting goals were out of reach. Those challenges came amid a low unemployment rate and a competitive civilian job market, with employers offering increased wages and benefits even for entry-level jobs. Well, ideally, that'll keep happening, and they're going to have to keep having problems with getting people in the military. Hopefully. So there is that. Just a little something to give us a little something to be happy about amid this gloomy last 2 weeks. It is. The U.S. Jobs Program. Yeah. It's also the U.S. College Program, too, actually. For most people. That's how I got to college. And if I didn't have a choice, I definitely would have gone straight to college instead of going to the military first. But, yeah, the education system failed me because I just actually part of it's the education system failed me, but also that I'm kind of a late bloomer too. So I wasn't inspired to study in school at all. I didn't enjoy school. Period. I didn't actually really study until my last year, till my senior year. So, yeah. Lots of problems with our education system. Lots of different ways to fix it. All right, the next one we have. Oh, this really is in my face. That's how my kids went to college. Now my son was able to afford a house. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's rough. It is so rough out there. They like it that way so that we have to join to get any of that stuff done. So that way, us peasants die for corporate profit. All right, mathematics confirms rich people aren't smart, they're lucky. It all boils down to the power law, also known as the 80-20 rule. It's part of the American ethos. Hard work pays off. We believe we live in a meritocracy where everyone with the gumption, grit, and determination can make it no matter what obstacles lie in their way. But with income inequality at an all-time high in the US and most other developed countries, people are starting to question whether or not meritocracy exists at all. It doesn't. I have some articles that I've collected with my rewrite of my capitalism and resource-based economy stuff, talking about meritocracy, how they definitely do not exist. The hardest workers don't rise to the top, especially if they're not, bordering on sociopathic. If they work hard, it's hard to get ahead unless you're willing to exploit or step on people below you. Meritocracies, definitely in this country don't exist, but it's not the answer. I'm not sure what the answer is, but it's very hard for this to exist as long as competition is a thing. A 2015 Harvard Institute of Politics poll found that 48% of millennials believe the American dream is dead. A growing number of them are even feeling sunnier about socialism, which indeed is a specter among the more conservative-minded. That doesn't mean a belief in unfettered free market capitalism is completely dead yet, although it probably should be amongst the millennials, I bet. Climate change, everything that's happening with SCOTUS, I can't imagine any of them feel good about capitalism. Some evangelical ministers today continue to preach the prosperity gospel. Oh, I fucking loathe the prosperity gospel. Oh my God. This just boils my blood. If you don't know what the prosperity gospel is, it's a type of Christianity where they say, in order for you guys to get into heaven, you have to give me money to get into so that I can get into heaven, so that you can get into heaven, or something like that. So many poor people, impoverished people, are sending all their money to these prosperity gospel fuckheads, and they're just leaving themselves poor while these guys are running fundraisers to get a fucking private jet. Who was it? John Oliver did a breakdown of the prosperity gospel on one of his things. It was amazing. Look for last week tonight with John Oliver. I don't know what it was called. Prosperity gospel was mentioned in there somewhere, but it's a great episode. This is a uniquely American concept which states that those who are wealthy have been predestined to be saved by the Creator. The idea stems all the way back to the Puritans. According to them, the way you could tell who was saved from the fiery pits was outward signs of inner grace. Being good-looking, effective, and prosperous meant you were going to heaven. But the Great Recession and its aftermath have damaged the concept of meritocracy and the prosperity gospel among the vast majority of young adults. So what about those who are wealthy today? Did they really earn their place through the sweat of their brow, the cut of their jib, the brains in their head, and their unwavering determination? Oh, hey man, how you doing? That's a crazy ass name you got there. XX9989243JND. Is that like completely random? Welcome. I'm FreeZenon, and this is my channel. We go over politics. I have my own policy site and my own blog. I blog about politics, and it'll be shared here in the stream automatically at some point. You can get those there. It's also there in Twitch down below. My information. Going over an article about how the rich don't really earn their riches. Actually, what's it called? Mathematics confirms rich people aren't smart. They're lucky. Yep. I'm good. I'm good. I'm not prepared today, but I am here streaming an hour late, but I am here. I'm good. How are you today, sir? Can you guys hear the music okay? Should be something a little bit playing in the background. It's on 5. Great. Good. Good. Do you consider yourself left or conservative or liberal or actually leftist? I consider myself far left, although some kind of peg me at moderate left. Not quite radical. I like to say I'm radical, but according to some, I'm not quite that radical. And we've got our amazing contractor doing contracting stuff upstairs on our attic. On the moderate right, supporting Trump isn't moderate right. That would be far right, for me at least. Okay, well, what did you do? Do you still support him? Especially after the 1-6 stuff. I haven't been following the 1-6 stuff because it's ridiculous. I mean, if something happens, great. He should be in prison. Should have been in prison decades ago. You still do? Okay. What do you think about the 1-6 stuff? Have you been following it all? He's a great man. Oh boy. Okay. How is he great? I mean, he's a liar, a con man, and a fraud. January 6th? January 6th, right? Or is it February 6th? No, whatever. Whatever the trial is for Trump regarding the January 6th coup stuff. Wasn't that a plot by Antifa and FBI? No, definitely not. Definitely not. A bunch of righties, the Proud Boys and stuff like that. And of course, Trump was part of that. I haven't really followed it so much. Definitely right-wingers. Everyone that was there was a Trump-loving right-winger. Trump may be saying it was Antifa and FBI, but the 1-6 hearings are definitely telling a different tale from the people who were there. Especially compared to Biden. Hunter Biden behaves very badly, like taking cocaine and smoking weed. Well, what about being a liar, a con man, a fraud, and being infidelitous? Does that go anywhere on your bad scale? I mean, Christians like to hold him up as the epitome of I don't know. Yeah, the Hunter Biden thing isn't the president, but still, Biden is bad. Yeah, we know. But, okay, so we generally here on this channel we believe Biden is bad. I've said fuck Joe Biden plenty of times, so you don't have to tell us that. We know he's bad. He's a horrible human being. Oh, none Bidenery. How you doing? Thank you for the follow. How you doing today? Yeah, Biden is, what do I say? I say Jim Crow Dementia Joe. That's what I say. I was talking with my dad this weekend. Trump is a Christian and supports family values like cheating on his third wife with his second wife or something like that. And also having sex with a sex worker, a porn star. That's a family value. Also being a liar. being a con man and a fraud, those are good Christian values. Yeah, he's definitely not Christian. A lot of people like him say they're Christian just because that's the required thing to believe here in the United States. If you're not Christian, a lot of people won't vote for you. Like specifically, I identify as an agnostic humanist, and my mother said she would never vote for someone who wasn't Christian. It's like, oh, okay, you do you, boo. But yeah, he's definitely not Christian. Definitely not the sort of Christian that Jesus spoke of. Yeah, he's pretty horrible for an atheist. Yeah, I know, and that's part of the right wing broken brain syndrome stuff. But I get it. Well, which version of Christianity? There's over 5,000 individual denominations of Christianity. There's like the Trump version of Christianity, which is not Christian at all, according to any aspect of what is in the Bible. He would be what we would, false prophet. No, he's not speaking even anything. He's an idolater. I don't know. He's bad. He's just super bad on every single level that you could ever find a human being to be bad on. Protestant, I was brought up Methodist, but we stopped going when I was like 8 or 9 or something like that. Which branch are you? It's been a long time since I've studied this stuff. Let's see, 2000, almost a decade since I've studied Christianity. I spent 4 or 5 years studying Christianity when I first started getting into stuff, because gay marriage is what got me into politics. And then, of course, you had to study the Bible and Christianity to figure out what the hell their problem is. Evangelical, oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so evangelicals tend to have a blind faith in Trump. Just, I don't know why, but they do. If you really look at, the Bible and what it says, especially the New Testament, looking at what Jesus has said, Trump is the antithesis of everything Jesus taught. Lutheran, okay, cool. Do you still go? Do both of you still go? Like I've been to the church. Actually, I'm in the same town I grew up in, and I'm from Corpus. Oh, you're in Texas. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. The South is generally more conservative and much more right wing and evangelicalism. Yeah. Not surprising. No, you don't. Yeah. Like my wife had gone like once several years ago, and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't stomach it. Just and our local church is pretty good. The Methodist church that I grew up in is pretty good, but still, you go once a week. Okay, cool, good for you. They still struggled with they're more moderate when it comes to values for the most part. They struggled with the gay marriage thing, but then they got over that, and then they're supporting that and everything else, which is good. Actually, so if you're looking, so for me, I'm Unitarian Universalist. I've gone to UU, it's a UU/Free Thought congregation. So Unitarian Universalist is, if you want the closest thing on side of Christianity, that's kind of where I am. That would be far left. It was interesting. Like once I started my journey into politics, I was trying to find where I stood, in values and religion. So I was looking for different religions and what they believed in to try and find something that fit. And then I found Unitarian Universalism. And they had one church in the area, which was one congregation. Don't want to call it a church. And it was a UU/Free Thought church. It was Fragemunda, which is from the German Free Thought congregation. I think they came here in the 1830s during the 1840s, I think. Something like that, and then they established their church. Yeah, I figured as much. I don't support Roe versus Wade, nor same-sex marriage or contraception. Okay. I'm assuming you're white too, right? White and male? I mean, you could definitely be as brainwashed as evangelicalism. I could definitely, yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, so you also have to understand that you are in a position of extreme privilege, being white and male, because obviously Christianity is patriarchal, heavily patriarchal. So yeah, in your position, it's easy for you to destroy the lives of others and just agree to that when it doesn't affect you. Although what tends to happen with right wingers is why they're definitely not oppressed. We are a patriarchal society. Pretty much all of Western civilizations, because they are Christian, are patriarchal in nature. I mean, women had to fight and die for the right to vote, and fight and die for the right to not be considered chattel property of their husbands. They had to fight to be able to have their own fucking checking account, to be able to drive, and so on. No, males are definitely not oppressed here. Whoa, Grizzly Bear. My first day of Sunday school, they told us the story of Adam and Eve and how Eve was a bad person, she was a woman, and so that means women are bad. Yep. And I thought to myself, like, hey, I'm going to be a woman, and I'm not bad. I won't be bad when I grow up, and just being a woman doesn't make a person bad. So I endured the rest of my time going to church. Yeah, that was true 50 years ago. Well, right, they were fighting for that, however many years ago, but that's still a fight today. The fact that we're talking about Roe versus Wade shows you that women most definitely are oppressed. Yeah, so if you really get into the Adam and Eve story, that whole thing is about the oppression of women and the submission of women and the rise of the patriarchy. Like when I was studying Christianity, got into divine feminine and divine feminine symbolism. Much of what you find there in the Old Testament is about the that's all about the casting down of women and oppressing them for the rise of the patriarchal society, because a lot of the symbolism that's there, especially with the tree of knowledge, is all about the symbolism for the divine feminine. And because Christianity is patriarchal, if you empower women, you will be cast down, and that's why women are bad. The fact that women bleed, they have their period and they suffer pains while going through childbirth, that is penance for the sins that occurred because of eating of the tree of knowledge of good or evil, or tree of knowledge, or of whatever it was. Yeah, it's really interesting, Girly Bear. If you really get it, if you study some of the divine feminine symbolism and look through there, it's just like, whoa, it's mind-blowing how devastating that is. Yeah, of course, a lot of that, the patriarchal and misogynist stuff is in the Old Testament. The Newer Testament, I'm not as familiar. I don't remember anything that was necessarily. No, there is some stuff there in the New Testament that is patriarchal too. I think even Paul said women should be silent, or something like that. There's some of that in there, not as much as in the Old Testament. But yeah, XX. There's women are fighting for their own bodily autonomy. They Jesus. There's this amazing book. What is it? Sex, Crime, and Punishment for 1,000 Years. I've talked about this before on stream. It's a really difficult thing. Baby's autonomy? Well, according to the Bible, the fetus is not actually a human being until they take their first breath. You'll find that slathered all over. That's pretty much all Old Testament stuff. So even according to God, that's not a baby. And even in the Bible, there is a formula for an abortant. There is a passage which says, if a man comes back and he thinks that his wife has been unfaithful, he may take her to the priest and have her drink of the bitter waters. And if she basically has an abortion, then she was unfaithful. If not, then she was faithful. And if you look at some of the Old Testament stuff in Scripture in there, you'll find that if a man damages a woman, he pays property. If a man damages a pregnant woman and kills the baby, it's property loss. It's not considered a human being until it's actually born, according to the Bible. So what about the Bible, Jan Christian, evangelical Christian? Does that matter? Does God's word matter to you? You can look for the you can just look for the Christian case for abortion. Typically, they will go over those sorts of things, so that will support them. Did you? Are you going to? I wasn't planning on it. We went over it last week. We read it. It was. If you go into Discord, I've got some links there. If you go to ongoing tragedies, there's some links and stuff there for Roe versus Wade. Not a whole lot, but there's some. Yeah. But listen, I don't like abortion. It shouldn't exist. Abortion exists because we live in a country that doesn't take care of our people. If you want us to go over something, Girly Bear, and you've got something you want to share, we can definitely go over it. I have no problems with that. I'm not prepared today, so if you got something you want to go over, we can do that. Like, I thought about writing a blog post specifically on this topic that, starting out saying, I wish, I don't support abortion. And then basically getting into the point where if you're really pro babies, if you really don't want abortion to exist, then you need to support universal health care, universal education, housing as a human right, food and internet as a human right, and UBI, universal basic income. If you don't support those things, then you're really you don't support babies. You don't support children. Because if you look at, I haven't really done the research on this, but if you look at a lot of the reasons why women get abortions, it's so economic. Hear my perspective on things, and you provide great. Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, I'm kind of talking about it now. It's pretty horrific what's happened over the last few weeks with SCOTUS. I mean, they've gutted like the EPA, separation between church and state, Roe versus Wade, and a few other things. I mean, it's devastating what happened. Yeah, it's going to get bad. It's going to get bad right now. There's going to be some states that will support it, and of course, the southern states are going to deny it. And women are like, outlawing abortion doesn't end abortion. It just means it's just the beginning of women dying due to getting unsafe abortions done. And the law, frankly, has zero to do. They shouldn't be regulating that. That's a medical thing. It's a medical thing, period. That's the way it should be. That's even in my policies up here. Again, these are my policies. Marriage and contraception will be abolished next. Jesus Christ, dude. You've got some major brain damage. So like here, so the Declaration of the Unified Rights of Humanity, I have it in there, and also in my healthcare, that, family planning, abortion, and stuff like that should be provided, free for everyone. So, yeah. So actually, that, just like XX is talking about, those things might be coming on the chopping block because of the Roe versus Wade being overturned. That could, much as Uncle Clarence Thomas talked about in his opinion, that those things are probably going to come next, and that's probably what's going to happen in the right-leaning states. Of course, they will murder people. Right-wingers are in order to be conservative, you have to be at the very least a sociopath, because if the only way you can believe what you believe is if you are sociopathic, because your beliefs are inherently harmful to others and oppressive of others. Right, the medical profession has criteria, and when a woman talks to their doctor, they provide them info where there's a possibility of ending the pregnancy or whether it's too far along. Yeah, exactly. It's a medical decision, and it has nothing to do with anything that should be regulated. It's purely woman's body, her choice. And now, I say this as a man, and I'm conflicted on saying this, but I know that's the right thing to say. Like, I think about it from the standpoint, if I'm a guy and my girlfriend or wife is going, we're having a baby and she's going to get rid of it, it would be devastating. Like, where would I stand? Obviously I would want, depending, right, in the situation, I'd want the child born, but, where does my say go as the sperm donor, if you'd like to say? Where do my rights begin in this conversation, and where does it end? Do my rights even matter? Because it's the woman's. Well, right, and that's kind of what I'm asking, kind of to myself, but at the end of the day, it's still the woman who's carrying it. And it's her body that's going to suffer. But I'm torn on that issue, but I always default on the rights of the women because that's where it goes. It's too far along, medical professionals won't do an abortion. There's no need for the Supreme Court. Right. That's exactly the way it should be. Curly Bear. That's exactly right. I mean, there should be no cases about this anywhere. It's fucking stupid beyond belief. So stupid. So fucking stupid. So fucking stupid. Yeah, I asked my wife, we're selling our rental property, hopefully. Then after we get done selling that, we'll look at selling our current house. And I asked her if maybe she might consider moving to Netherlands, Finland, or something like that, somewhere where there's freedom. Supreme Court needs to protect the babies from scrupulous murderers. Well, they're not murderers, first of all, especially according to the Bible. Well, answer the Bible stuff, first of all. Do you believe what God has said? Do you support what God has said about when fetuses are actually human beings, or are you going to ignore what the Supreme? Well, then you should support abortion because God has given formulas for abortants. And babies' fetuses are not babies. They're not human beings until their first breath, as it says plenty of times in the Bible. So you're saying God is wrong and you're going against God and you know better than God? Or do you blindly support what you're told to support because that's what the evangelical church has said? Is that they're basically parasites? Well, you could kind of think of it that way, sure. But it's definitely not symbiotic relationship because the woman doesn't get anything out of it. But sure, pretty much in every case where a new life is growing, it sucks up the energy and resources of its host. Definitely. It's hard to have any other process other than parasitic, unless you're going to get into like asexual reproduction or something like that. Women are the parasite to the fetus. No, that doesn't work that way. Parasite is someone who feeds. That in order for a woman to be the parasite on a fetus, the woman would have to be taking stuff from the fetus. A parasite takes something from someone and harms them. Well, no, yeah. So a fetus is not a parasite because it doesn't harm the woman necessarily. It's just a part of the reproductive process. In order to be a parasite, there has to be harm involved. So you're wrong again, XX. You're not going to answer the question about going against the word of God, about abortion? Do some reading on that. Abortion is harm. Having women die because they can't get an abortion is harm. Well, but it doesn't harm them though. It doesn't harm the women because the woman is, engaging in the reproductive process to create life. It has to cause harm in order for it to be parasitic. If she doesn't have enough for the two of them, right. That's exactly right. If you're impoverished, then that becomes a problem. Yes, that's a whole different situation. But normally, it's not. So letting children be born to families who can't support it, and letting children be born to families who want an abortion and they don't want the child, that is harm. The amount of psychological and long-term socioeconomic damage done to those children and those families is more devastating than anything. That's the problem with right-wingers. They don't have this understanding of the long-term systemic harm that this would cause. All they care about is one little thing. They can't think of what the long-term consequences of these actions are. It's that sociopathy involved. If you cannot afford the baby, then don't make... Well, what if it was an accident? And they don't want the baby. And having to endure a pregnancy Yeah, yeah, definitely. The psychological and the physiological harm, definitely. It's not always a choice whether or not to have a baby, especially in the case of rape. Lives in or on an organism and benefits by deriving nutrients at the other's expense. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe you're right. Okay, maybe you're right there, Girly Bear. Doesn't specify harm. Well, at the expense of its host, so it does. Okay. All right. I'll go with yours. Okay. All right. We'll go with that. So some of these women who getting abortions, they can't afford it and they don't want it, and they can't get an abortion now. Now they have to have a child. It's forced birth. It's separating them from their bodily autonomy. I'm assuming you didn't want the vaccine, right, or masks, right? Because my body, my choice. It's convenient when it applies to you, but not convenient when it applies to someone else, especially an oppressed, well, I can't say minority, because there's more women than there are men. If it's not a choice, if it was an accident or if it was rape, if they didn't plan on it, then it wasn't a choice. If they did not actively take the time to choose to get pregnant, then it wasn't a choice. Then it was an accident or rape, incest, or those other things. Again, you're in a position of extreme personal choice. It does affect. Oh my fucking god, dude! Seriously, get a. If you do not wear a mask, you breathe, and air goes outside of your lungs, outside of your body. It goes into the air. If you are infected, especially if you're vaccinated, the likelihood is you are going to be a asymptomatic carrier. So you could get someone else sick just by breathing in the same room with someone else. That is not a choice I want. It does not protect only yourself, dude. Come on, dude. Fucking, I assumed you failed high school mostly. You just have to look at physics here. If someone breathes and you have a mask, you don't take in that air. At least not directly. Actually, it's not the air. So it's not the air that's the problem. It's the water droplets. That's what the mask is there to protect you from. Someone, GED, there you go. So if someone breathes, the mask there protects you, especially for N95 specifically, from the water droplets that contain a high concentrate of the virus. The mask protects both ways. There's plenty of, God, I went over this during the very beginning of the thing. There's these neat little, let's see, COVID mask efficacy infographic. Yeah, here we go. See, 2 people wearing a mask greatly reduces the chance of infection. It's like a 90-some% reduction in ability to be infected. There's another one here that I've seen that actually gives the percentages ish. Okay, doesn't give the percentages, but here you go. Okay, that's ridiculous. There's this Olympic, some sort of athlete. He wore 10 masks and some other stuff, and he could still do his running. You're just being a wuss. If you're just being a wuss, dude. Being a fucking wuss. Grab yourself by your bootstraps and get a pair of balls and care about other people. See, this is that sociopathy we're talking about. You don't care about the others that are being harmed by your ignorance. Don't get me wrong, I love babies. I had 1 miscarriage. I'm sorry to hear that. 2 live births and then 1 miscarriage. I support abortion rights because I would be devastated if I was forced to carry pregnant. Yeah. Oh, definitely. I've known a few people who've had miscarriages. I think 1 person who's had an abortion. Yeah, that would be devastating. Devastating. So the masks do protect you. Oh, this isn't the one I want. Oh yeah, here we go. So here, mask. This isn't the one I want, but it's well enough. If both of you are wearing masks, great reduction, and so on. A lot of empathy for other people. You can't because you're conservative and you're destroying people's lives through your voting. That's why I support the free market enterprise, which creates the most thriving economy. Wrong. Wrong. So if it was the most thriving economy, America wouldn't be effectively almost a third world country. Capitalism creates poverty. Capitalism only exists because it requires exploitation and the murder of others and the destruction of the environment and everything. I have a 9-minute post which explains why that is. Because the very basis of competition, I've got the contractor upstairs, that's what you're hearing. The very basis of capitalism and competition. Competition automatically puts everyone against each other. It automatically creates an antagonistic social environment and economic environment. The only way, there's plenty of studies to show this, right? The concentration of wealth will always happen. And people being poor as a result of that is going to happen too. There's nothing good about capitalism. Capitalism is inherently exploitive. And the only way out of it is to end monetary systems and shift to a resource-based economy. My post there, The Cancer of Capitalism, goes over that. In the tension within method of exchange explains the issue with competition. And the thing is, if a fetus dies inside a woman, they will leave that dead fetus inside of her because abortion is now illegal, right? And that may risk the woman's life as well. Just imagine that. I mean, living for however many months with a dead fetus inside you, it would be, God, I couldn't fucking imagine that. The sheer amount of psychopaths that are voting for this, it just boggles my mind. Boggles my fucking mind. That anyone, it's just boggling. I mean, I get it because of the brainwashing and, the sociopathy involved with being conservative, but it just, the moment you have actual empathy, the moment you really take your politics and base it upon others, compassion for others, everything changes. And that's the only thing that there has to be, that moment for a conservative where something changes. Wow, he's really going to town there. Ectopic pregnancy are not viable ever, and they have to be aborted or the woman dies. Okay. Oh, yeah. And so this is some of the risk there involved with overturning abortions, ending abortions, because women are going to die. Again, ending abortions, making abortions illegal isn't the end of abortions. It's the end of safe abortions. And it's the beginning of women dying, getting unsafe abortions. It's just, we shouldn't have to have this conversation, honestly. Just like they said, the women of today should not have to sit here and fighting for a battle that was won 50 years ago. I mean, it's fucked up. And that's what happens when we get a conservative majority on the Supreme Court. I mean, they're tearing down everything. All the decades and decades of progress and rights, especially for women, that we've made over the past 50 years. I'm just afraid of what they're going to tear down next. They just recently tore down the EPA's rights to right to pass not laws, but set standards for climate change or anything like that in this day and age. No, I saw that he said we should overturn the filibuster in order to codify Roe versus Wade. That's the only thing I have seen, but that talk doesn't mean anything. Nothing Dementia Joe says means anything, because he's a right-wing garbage head. Is there something more beyond that he did? I don't think I follow him on Twitter, but some people do. Filibuster. So filibuster is in the Congress. This was we did this last year sometime. There's this congressional rule that says a minority can stop any votes or any discussion on something if they have so many votes. And this is typically used. This started and was used during the civil rights movement. And it was used to stop any civil rights laws from getting passed. And it's pretty much only ever used by right wingers to stop things for, good things from happening. And that's something that's going to be used for anything that will that get passed that will be good. So yeah, if they have enough votes, they can stop whatever they want. And it wasn't created directly. I think the filibuster is the indirect result of the way they put something together. If you search in my Discord, we covered it sometime last year, and then I did a whole bunch of stuff on the filibuster. Okay, he said, let's fight to get rid of it, but he said that 2 hours after Leahy's office said he was going into hip surgery. There's no way now, and Biden knew it, yet he tried to play it like it was. Yeah, exactly. So that's when Democrats will say something when they know it's never going to happen. That way they can look like they support us, but, hey, it's not my fault. It's the parliamentarian. It's Manchin. It's cinema. It's whatever excuse they want. It's the filibuster, right? Democrats like seeming powerless, but they bring in like Manchin, cinema are the rotating villains. It's rotating villains are people within their party that are set up to make sure that nothing gets done. I write about that in one of my posts here, talking about lesser of two evils. Voting is antithetical to democracy. I talk about that sort of a thing. It's the vote blue no matter who sort of garbage that I talk about in there, why it's bad, and why Democrats are bad. Democrats are the controlled opposition party. It's just the point of Republicans, of conservatives in general, to destroy progress. And it's the point of, Democrats are conservative. They're moderate conservatives. But it's the point of the Democratic Party to prevent progress, because they are the controlled opposition party. There's a saying that social movements go to the Democratic Party to die. And that's exactly right. I mean, even the Democratic Party is trying to keep the Green Party off the ballot. Last 2020, they fought to keep people off the ballot. In 2024, they're already fighting to keep Green Party members off the ballot. So yeah, there's nothing democratic about the Democratic Party. It's just a name that they give lip service to. I mean, just like the rest of what they do, it's all lip service and nothing else. Lip service so people keep voting for them. Okay. That's enough. Quit complaining about that because I'll keep going. If you want to know more about what I think, it's there in that post. All right, let's see. All right, let's keep going on here. This article is Mathematics Confirms Rich People Aren't Smart, They're Lucky. We've gone over a few of these. Yeah, so I went over this. Some evangelical ministers continue to preach the prosperity gospel. This fucking pisses me off more than a lot of things. It is the devil, the devil. I'll talk about false prophets right here. This is false prophets. 100%. All right, so what about those who are wealthy today? Did they really earn their place? Hold on one moment. I'm going to close the door over there. Okay, his door is closed. I gotta close my door a little bit. Okay. Did they really earn their place through sweat of their brow, the cut of their jib, the brains in their head, and their unwavering determination? The answer is a definitive no. Rather, being gifted or special, the greatest determinant in acquiring vast wealth is merely being fortunate, according to a new analysis. Yeah, and pretty much what you'll find in most models is that if you're rich, you can be successful. That's about the birth lottery or the zip code lottery. That's one of the strongest indicators of how well you're going to do in life, is how well off your family is. 3 Italian scholars at the University of Catania, using a computer model, wanted to find out if those who are rich got that way through talent or luck. 2 were physicists, Alessandro Plucino and Andrea Rapisarda. And the third was an economist, A.E. Oh my God. Biondo. Oh, no. Biondo. Their first task was to take a computer model and fill it with aspects surrounding human talent. Then after feeding these into the machine, they showed it the ways in which people use those talents to advance themselves. Talent was defined as having intelligence, skills, a mindset for risk-taking, and so on. Then researchers imbued a number of fictitious candidates with such talents along the standard deviation, a bell curve. Most people have an average level of talent, as you might expect. Then each individual's progress was charted over a simulated 40-year career to see what determined where they ended up income-wise. The trajectory wasn't straightforward. Besides allowing for a bump up due to luck, researchers added unlucky aspects which might sink one's career. After the 40-year period, researchers set about determining who were the most successful and what led to them to become so. They ran the experiment through the computer several times to double-check outcomes, yet the results could have been easily predicted. The computer spit out what's known as the power law, or the 80-20 rule. A famous concept in economics, the power law says no matter what economy you look at, almost everywhere, 20% of the people own 80% of the wealth. What's more, luck was the single greatest determinant in wealth acquisition. So yeah, so this is another thing. When we're looking at this is pretty much a predetermined result of capitalism or any competitive market, that there will always be a concentration of wealth in the top, 10%, 1%, 20%, or whatever. So, there's plenty of miles to talk about this. This is just another example of something that proves that. But what they're showing here is luck is the single greatest determinant. Yeah, if you look at Donald Trump, if Donald Trump would have taken the money his father had given him and just put it in a mutual fund, he would have been almost twice as rich as he is now, instead of just, where he is because of all the failures that he's had along the way, bankruptcies and so on and so forth. According to the authors of the study, the large dominant meritocratic paradigm of highly competitive Western cultures is rooted in the belief that success is due mainly, if not exclusively, to personal qualities such as talent, intelligence, skill, smartness, efforts, willfulness, hardworking, or risk-taking. While the authors admit that we do portend some of a person's success to luck, more often than not, we downplay the role external forces play, though they may be the most significant. Meanwhile, we play up the contribution talent has. Researchers found that the vast majority of the top 20% aren't the most talented. Rather, they are exceedingly average. Maximum success never coincides with maximum talent, and vice versa. Researchers wrote. The funny thing is, many in the know aren't the least surprised. Important works on business have stated as much, such as the seminal Life and Death on the Corporate Battlefield, How Companies Win, Lose, and Survive, and last year's Success and Luck, Good Fortune, and the Myth of Meritocracy. Even so, there's a difference between anecdotal evidence from observing the business arena and a computer model spitting out cold, hard facts. Income inequality is a growing problem in the U.S. and most developed countries in the world. Today, the top 8 billionaires own more wealth than the bottom 3-some-odd billion people in the world. This study will likely be obfuscated by those who wish to maintain their wealth, status, and power. Yet one wonders when the breaking point will come and how best to implement a more equitable division of resources among our species. Okay, so we talk about this here, right? We know what the answer is. It's a resource-based economy. I shared my Cancer of Capitalism post earlier in the Tension post, which talk about that sort of thing. That's pretty much what it boils down to. So, and I've talked about, and Grizzly Bear, that I shared that, where did I share that? That graphic I had been working on the last time you were here about scarcity. Where did I share that? So I can tell you where it's at. Maybe I'll pull it up here too. General? Politics General? Yeah, Politics General, if you want to see that. Oh, here it is. Okay, so, yeah, here it is. So this is in Politics General for you to look at. And he also linked to a Google Doc, which kind of goes with it. And again, if we're looking at the problem and the solution, the end solution to our current problem, the honest current problem we have today is artificial scarcity, which is holy crap, over here. Too big. Which is over here, the world of today. Artificial scarcity, nation states, it's patriarchal, gross exploitation, devastating inequality, climate change, war, colonialism, imperialism. But also we have things such as open source software, Wikipedia, Google, Amazon Web Services, automation, AI, 3D printing, all this sort of stuff. So the next step beyond that is my policies. Looks good? Yeah, you're welcome. It's not the final form, but I haven't had a chance to work on this in a while, but this, you can take a look at that. And then the last stage here, much like this article was talking about, we need to do something, a more equitable distribution of resources. And that's what a resource-based economy is. So the resource-based economy is antithetical to capitalism. Capitalism is based off competition, exploitation, whereas a resource-based economy is based off egalitarian, cooperative social structures. So the key part of this is ending scarcity so that, all the resources of humanity are declared a common heritage. All the resources of the planet are declared a common heritage to all of humanity. Not to one family, not to one billionaire, not to one anything, but to all of humanity in toto. So a resource-based economy does not have a monetary system. It is about resource management. Now you can look at my Cancer of Capitalism post to read about that. And there's also this post here, how resource-based economy might play out. And there I kind of go into like, how would we possibly transition from today's world to a resource-based economy? Now, it's not something that'll magically happen overnight. Can I share that? Yeah. But it is something that would take, well, I say what, at least 80 years? Just to get past the damage that is caused by capitalism. It'll take 4 generations to, get a generation that is fully within a resource-based economy, assuming, we went and did that implementation. It would take, decades and decades to build out. Okay, let's look at some anti-Biden garbage. Because Biden bad. Biden super mega ultra bad. Ugh. This is from Jezebel. This is from yesterday at 11. Biden reportedly plans to appoint anti-abortion Kentucky judge to lifetime seat. Hurrah! Fuck that guy. Oh, you read that? Okay, good. Yeah, this is a lot on stream now. This is probably the first time generally I'll have had a chance to read it. After Kennedy Governor Andy Beshear and Representative John Yarmouth, Democrat, both confirmed this deal to the Courier Journal. The outlet reported Friday morning that Kentucky federal judge Karen Caldwell is stepping down, opening up a seat for Biden's potential anti-abortion GOP. Are you fucking kidding me? There were some people on Twitter talking about this, wanting an even mix of, Republican and, well, I mean, they're all conservative, but moderate conservative and conservative people on the courts. Yikes. They got that right. Is that all there is? No, there's more. Less than a week after the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, President Joe Biden, it's McConnell's pick. Fucking balls. Just like Pelosi saying we need a strong, united Republican Party, right? Fuck her too. President Joe Biden is set to nominate anti-abortion Republican lawyer Chad Meredith to a lifetime federal judgeship in Kentucky, reportedly in exchange for Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell agreeing to not uphold future federal nominations by the Biden White House, according to the Courier Journal. Meredith, a Federalist Society member. Oh my fucking God. A Federalist Society. It's a right-wing, originalist, constitutional fuckheads. A Federalist Society member defended a 2017 Kentucky abortion law requiring doctors who perform abortions to first perform an ultrasound and describe the image to the patient. Note that the Federalist Society is responsible for basically handpicking Republicans, Supreme Court nominees, and ensuring that they would overturn Roe. Yeah, he's in the process of putting up the floor. He had put leveler down, I think, and now he's in the process of cutting the flooring. So let's make a noise if you can hear it. There are no current judicial vacancies open in Kentucky, but the Courier-Journal reports that the deal is in place for as soon as one opens. Fucking God. Biden is so fucking horrible. Democrats are so fucking horrible. Democrats have been frustrated by the fact that the administration has been caught flat-footed at the gutting of abortion rights, which we all knew was coming due to the leak that came out last month, I think. On Monday, Vice President Bizarre Laughter Kamala Harris, during an interview with CNN, dodged questions about whether the administration would pursue allowing legal abortion services on federal lands like national parks. And on Tuesday, White House Press Secretary Karen Jean-Pierre shot down that idea, saying the plan has dangerous ramifications. Okay, true. Biden's latest deeply hypocritical move comes after he claimed to be fiercely defending women's right to abortion, now that states have been given the green light to ban it outright. Yeah, he's a fuck. That's typical of Democrats, right? They go, yay, pride, yay, abortion, and then they do everything they can to stop it. This is a sad day for the country, in my view, but it doesn't mean the fight is over. Biden said in a statement on Friday, let me be very clear and unambiguous. The only way we can secure women's right to choose and the balance that existed is for Congress to restore the protections of Roe versus Wade as federal law. Well, he's right there. He's right. Not that it's going to get done. No executive action from the president can do that, and if Congress, as it appears, lacks the votes to do that now, voters need to make their voices heard. Yeah, so it always comes down to fundraising. Vote blue no matter who. So this is going to be their clarion call in all of their emails. Vote blue for this, even though Democrats could have done this years ago. Under Obama, that's what as far as I've heard, that's what he ran on. Abortion, making sure Roe stands, and he said it was a major thing for him while he was running. But once he was in office, they said it wasn't a priority. And then, of course, working with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she should have retired during his time so that he could have appointed a much younger judge to the Supreme Court. Not that Obama's pick probably would support this. Pretty much all of Obama's stuff was purely capitalist. All about the monies. You think she was murdered? She had cancer. Right? She died of cancer? No, she had cancer. Complications from cancer. She performed a wedding not 3 weeks prior. Okay. It's the first time I've heard of that. Interesting. If you have more links on this, I'd be curious to read about that. Yikes, that would be horrible. That'd be super horrible. This is a sad day. Okay, blah, blah. Early in the year, they said she was all good. Yeah. Well, that's kind of one of the things with cancer. Okay. It can come back. It can definitely come back. But, okay, all right. That's true. I remember hearing that. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So, Democrats vote blue no matter who. They want you to be afraid, so you keep voting for them. The federal courts are extremely important right now. The Republican Party's, read Mitch McConnell's entire strategy for the past few years has been to pack them with conservatives who will shut down any lawsuit attempting to defend abortion rights. Yeah, that's true. And someone's trying to primary him. I think it's Charles Booker, who's trying to no, primary, not primary. Yeah, primary? No. Primary is not the word. Who? I'm not sure. I want to say Cory Booker. Not Cory Booker. He's in what's a I can't remember what his name is. Yeah, Cory Booker is a sellout. What the? I'm pretty sure it's another black guy who's trying to run against McConnell. Not sure. Biden is under a lot of pressure to fill the current court vacancies he has with judges who are friendly to reproductive rights. Instead, he's making deals with McConnell to allow more anti-abortion judges into the fray. This is a betrayal. There's no excuse for it. It's coming at the worst possible time, and if Democrats are going to continue asking people to vote to make up for what we lost on, well, these last 2 weeks, they're going to need to show us something much different than this. Yeah, exactly. And the Democrats aren't going to, right? Climate change. We lost the EPA, basically. The EPA was gutted. Abortion rights were gutted. Separation between church and state was gutted. A lot of things were gutted. And I just pale to think of what's coming up next. Whoops. In the next year, in the next session of Supreme Court. It's going to be bad. Super, super bad. If these last few weeks are any indication of what they're planning on doing. I mean, yikes. I mean, fucking yikes. Actually, I can do it here. It's in my face. He's going to town up there like a mofo. All right, so this is an article by Jason Hickel. There's an article by him that I used in my post on how resource-based economy might play out. It was a really good article. Getting to the transition point, you go down to the bottom beyond right here. So, how to achieve full decolonization. This is using MMT. I'll go ahead and share this in here for you. It's a really great article. And once I read this article, I added this part here, option 5, the Pan-African Decolonized Union, as kind of the beginning for a way that a resource-based economy might, come into being, starting with Africa, decolonizing itself. It's a great article. Okay. So this is on Al Jazeera. This is written 29th, just a few days ago. The Global South has the power to force radical climate action. After all, Western economies and their economic growth depend utterly on labor and resources from the South. Yeah, so if fucking Africa stood up and said, fuck you guys. Actually, his article there, talking about decolonizing, goes into that specifically. Read that article. It's really good. Read this one too. If Africa started saying no to lithium and all the other stuff that they have in there, like we say here, right? It's Africa has never been poor. They've just been looted by the global north. If they started saying no to that, they could bring the global north to its knees. I follow him on Twitter too. He's got some really great stuff there. All right, so during the past several years, it has become clear that the international climate negotiations are failing to address the climate crisis. Existing policies have us on track for 3.2 degrees Celsius this century. Really? Holy fuck, I didn't realize it was that bad. Yikes, I thought we were coming close to 2 degrees this century. This was even worse than I was thinking. In other words, within the lifetime of the present generation, scientists are clear that such a future will be characterized by severe suffering and dislocation. Yeah, so as you guys know here, I'm completely doomerist, and within the next 100 to 300 years, we'll have pretty much extinction of pretty much all life on this planet. That's where we're heading. And if we're headed to 3.2 degrees by the end of this century, the next 80 years, fucking Jesus, dude. I just, yikes. The horrors we're going to see if this is it. 3.2 degrees total by the end of the next 80 years. So we're currently at 1.2 degrees currently, I think. Something like that. Since the Industrial Revolution, this will be horrible. Western economies and the corporations and elites that dominate them are overwhelmingly responsible for this crisis. They have contributed more than 90% of the excess emissions that are driving climate breakdown. Meanwhile, the impacts fall hardest on the countries in the global south, which are already suffering the brunt of the heat waves, droughts, floods, crop failures, and human displacement. The climate crisis is playing out along colonial lines. And that's exactly right. And this is the same thing with coronavirus too. It's the same thing with that, right? The global north has all the vaccines and the global south has nothing, so they're getting hit hard by it. It's always how the bad things play out will always be along colonial lines. Capitalism is in and of itself racist because capitalism requires competition, therefore it's tribal. And that kind of goes into my tension with the methods of exchange posts. I go and talk about that and why that is. It's the fact that competition creates tribalism because it's one against another. Political leaders and social movements in the global south are aware of these facts. For years, they have been calling for more dramatic action from governments in the global north, whose per capita emissions remain far higher than the rest of the world, but their pleas fall on deaf ears. None of the Western governments is on track to meet their fair share of the Paris Agreement goals. Why? Because to achieve sufficiently rapid emission reductions will require rich economies to dramatically reduce their energy use. Well, not necessarily reduce it, but that's definitely one way, but at least change the way where they get their energy from. There are a few countries that are coming close to it. Oops. But there aren't very many. And I'll go ahead and share this post with you. I talked about the Glasgow Climate Pact, which happened last year. And I kind of go, it's only like a 6-page document, but ultimately one of the things you'll notice when you read it is that it's basically, there's a few areas there where it's basically saying the global south is just waiting there for handouts from the global north to help them meet their climate requirements because they can't do it because the global north is looting all of their wealth. To manage such an energy descent, rich nations would need to abandon capitalist growth as an objective and shift to a post-growth, post-capitalist system where production and energy use is organized around meeting human needs rather than around elite accumulation. Yes and yes. Why do you keep doing that? Seriously. So, yes. Why are you doing that? So post-growth, there's also talk of degrowth. I think that's another way of talking about this. So not looking at the GDP, gross domestic product, or how much an economy grows as the primary indicator for how well things are doing, because obviously it's not. And if you look at my my policies, there's this amazing book. So if you want books to read, these are my five books you have to read. There's this book here, Donut Economics. This is and I have links here on this, so you can read about her, and there's also a video here, her talking about it. Last year, we read a post that was talking about something that was happening like in the Netherlands regarding this, and I was blown away by it. It's like, this is the way I think about economics when it comes to, humanity and saving things. And this is where I got the concept for a kind of open source regenerative circular economy, Rosher. Open source regenerative, or something like that. So I got some of that idea from her, and I changed my policies based on some of the stuff she put in here. It's a really great book. Really, really great book. Code Dancer. It's very nice to meet you. Current topic. So we are looking at, let's go back here. Reading this article, The Global South Has the Power to Force Radical Climate Actions by Jason Hickel. I've read some of his stuff. He's pretty good to follow on Twitter. One of his posts was an inspiration for something I did in one of my other writings. So let's talk about the global South, specifically Africa, needing to stand up and basically fight against the global North and their looting in order to try and meet their climate targets. Let's see where we're here. Okay, that's what they're doing. I'll go and share this again so you can open it if you like. There's the post. How you doing today, Code Dancer? Where are you from? I'm from Wisconsin. And you're going to hear construction going in the background. Yes, climate politics are interesting. And very, very sad. Very, very sad. Generally on here, I'll cover the 3 C's: capitalism, coronavirus, and climate change, also with some sustainable energy and future tech sort of stuff. 40-year-old single father from South SoCal. Okay, I'm a programmer. Oh, for work, and I make street art for fun. Oh, okay. I'm 47. I'm married. Got a 13-year-old. I'm from Wisconsin, and I have my bachelor's in computer programming, although I did web development for the first 20 years. Then now I am doing accessibility. I'm an accessibility advocate for a university, an online university, and accessibility advocate and accessibility subject matter expert. And in for fun, I blog about politics. I live stream about politics. I also do role-playing games and like Dungeons and Dragons and computer games. That's what I do. And if you want to find out more about me than you ever wanted to know, that's right here. If you're that bored. Cool. Cool. Yeah, I'm 40. I'll be 48 this year, so I'm a little bit older than you. Just a smidge. My wife does art. She loves doing art. She does painting parties and stuff like that. Every room in our house has at least one thing painted on the wall by her. I might have to get my wife to paint something. So right now upstairs, you'll hear the construction going on. We're turning the attic into an office space for me. So I got this amazing new job, and I need my own space to begin with because I don't have one. And I may have to have her paint something up there. I got to think about that. That would be cool. Once I get all my stuff in there, I'll have to pick a wall and have her put something on there. That's super cool. Great idea. I work hard to be sure my web apps get 90% or better. Okay, good for you. Don't just use that automated stuff. Isn't enough. They'll barely catch 15 to 20% of it. If you know an accessibility person, have someone take a look at it. But that's good that you're doing that. That's a great place to start. It's something I've been passionate about for a very long time. And I'm glad that you're doing that. Most people won't even think about doing that. I haven't actually done any testing on web apps or on mobile yet. I have to figure out a way to do that because I'm gonna have to do some testing on that at some point. Cool. Good for you. Good for you for starting on that. I have a web page I use to describe myself. Oh, okay. Oh, let's open it up here. Can I open it up? It's not gonna let me. Hold on. Can we? Okay. That's much easier. Come on, click. Code Dancer. Fiercely pro-choice. Nice. Good. Let's have one big bathroom. Okay, I like that. Climate change. Okay, this I disagree on. It is going to be catastrophic. And that's what we're covering here. Probably not going to grant. Yeah, no, that's fine. Designer babies are inevitable. Yep. McFeathered headdress has as much to do with you as gays do within the sanctity of marriage. I don't know how many modern rulings that an equal rights amendment would change. Okay, we should not spend all of our money trying to live forever. Please respect my vote. Okay. Religion neutral, one state solution. Yeah, so this is difficult. I say two-state solution is what we'll probably need, but I don't honestly know. It's so fucked up over there. So difficult. But yeah, that's interesting. If you have some articles on how a one-state solution would work, I would love to see that, because I don't know what the answer is there. Can't change market reality, only nudge it. Always close to, okay, this is, unless you are being treated like it is the 1980s, unionizing will be worse. Yeah, for me, unionize all the things. That's the way that goes. High school education should be standard for U.S. immigration. Well, the problem with this is that a lot of people immigrating here are from countries that the United States has raped and cooed and looted and destroyed. So basically what I say in my policies, any country that we have, engaged a coup in or are exploiting, we should automatically accept every single immigrant that comes from there. This is classist, and it is racist, and it is colonialist as a concept. So consider that as feedback. And yeah, climate change is going to be devastating. Where, like this article here, I didn't think it was going to be this bad. So this article says that we're on track for 3.2 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. The end of the century? I mean, I say we're looking at global extinction on the planet over the next 200 to 300 years. And this is really probably shifting that to, 1 to 200, well, probably 200 years. Probably more closer to 200 years. If we're going to hit 3 degrees by the end of the century, that's much farther than I was expecting. I was expecting 2.3 or something like that. I mean, that's going to be horrible as it is, but 3.2 by the end of the century, it's mind-boggling how horrible things are going to get. I am completely doomer here, by the way. I am climate doomer. So yeah, end of the world is coming. We are in the end of days. Ultimately, because the issue is, so if this is where our carbon dioxide is going, we have to be carbon negative. We have to be carbon negative enough to turn it down and level it off, which means we have to be so negative to turn this down to even have a chance at not having total global extinction. And the rate at which climate moves, it could take, even if we were climate negative today, it still might take 100 or 200 years for us to feel that. And it'll be unlivable in the countries in the South. Yep, people will be flooding to the U.S. and we need to make room. Yes, that's exactly regular. That's exactly what we're heading for. And that's what I talk about in my policies. We need to completely change our entire infrastructure. Like I talk about my policies, we need to start building up and building down. And yeah, making room. Moving people into it and start making room for the flood of immigrants, because there's going to be millions and millions and millions, if not near 1 billion or more immigrants shifting to the north because of how unlivable the South is. But my page, I don't mean to derail the current topic. Sticking climate change is probably good. Yeah, no, yeah, I appreciate that. This is pretty cool. I haven't done something quite like this. Are these links? They're not. They're not links. Why aren't they links? Is that all you have? Do you have? Okay, yeah, I got programming stuff up here. Gotcha. All right, cool. You should put your thoughts behind them, because this I'm really curious about. So I don't know what the answer is there. All right. Western economies and the corporations and elites that dominate them are overwhelmingly responsible for the crisis. They have contributed more than 90% of the excess emissions that are driving climate breakdown. Meanwhile, the impacts fall hardest on the countries of the global south, right, which we're talking about, which are already suffering the brunt of heat waves, droughts, floods, crop failures, and human displacement. The climate crisis is playing out along colonial lines, right? We read this already. And actually, these links here are all about climate change. We're going to go over those if we have time. Spend more time on that page is tricky. Yeah, no, I feel you. I just got my new job about 6 or 7 weeks ago, and that plus trying to find time to stream, and my wife, and we've got several businesses. Yeah, it's hard to find time to do that. I haven't had time to. God damn it! to blog in quite a while. I feel you, man. I feel you. Okay, we're reading what we already read, but we'll do it anyhow. Political leaders and social movements in the global south are aware of these facts. For years, they have been calling for more dramatic action from governments in the global north, whose per capita emissions remain far higher than the rest of the world, but their pleas fall on deaf ears. None of the Western governments is on track to meet their fair share of Paris Agreement goals. Why? Oh, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. Oh, and if you want, I'll go ahead and find this again. I covered the COP26 thing. Here's my post on COP26 in case you want to look at that. It's not that long, but I kind of go over the agreement from that. It's not that long. It's like 6 pages. I tear it apart just by section, and then snarkily tear it apart. So you get an idea from that. Political leaders and social movements in the global south. Okay, I've read that. Blah, blah, blah. Sequestering 100 million barrels of carbon every day would not be hard for humans as a species, at least compared to things like digging for gold or finding wars. Well, it's harder. It's not just about sequestration. The sequestration is difficult because it takes time to do that. And like the carbon, the machines that they're putting together are much more expensive and don't really work as well as they should. So carbon sequestration machines don't work that well. You know, we've got, as I've covered here, algae is a great way to do it. Kelp is a great way to do it. There's lots of, biological methods of doing it, but it's hard to get to that point where we can, if it was easy to sequester all that carbon, we wouldn't be having this conversation. It's difficult because the rate at which the global north is spewing out carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases is far beyond anything that we can compensate for. It's not just about sequestering that carbon. It's about reducing our energy or shifting to sustainable energy in such a way that we reduce the amount of greenhouse gases that are going out there. Doesn't lend itself to the free market. Yeah, no, you're right. That is part of it. And that's what I talk about here, right? That doing the right thing there isn't a lot of profit in doing the right thing. And a lot of that problem is the United States. The United States is pretty much the largest problem globally. The United States is the largest terrorist organization in the world. And, if basically what I say in my post on how a resource-based economy might come into being, I stayed in there, a key part of that is the United States has to stop being the largest terrorist organization in the world. When it comes to climate change, if the United States is not the leader on the war on climate change, that's human extinction, global extinction, period. Because the United States is one of the largest polluters in the whole world. And that's if we take into account the U.S. military and all of the exhaust and all of this, stuff that goes with that, just directly empowering it. But also one of the largest, if you take into account how much damage they do to the environment and infrastructure and to people, it's like we're just devastatingly the largest contributor to climate change in the world. Like, who's going to do the actual sequestering? Will it be the government, the consumers, the drillers, the manufacturers? Well, right. It's not just, the government could have a hand in this, right? Okay. So the big thing that the government should be doing, and now the Amazon puts out carbon dioxide. Yes. And now Amazon is putting out carbon. And when you look at, so we went over this article last year too, that when you plant a new forest, it gives off more carbon until about 20 years. It takes about 20 years for it to be carbon negative, a new forest, a newly planted forest. So just planting trees isn't going to do it anywhere near the time it's needed, because it's carbon positive until you get to that roughly 20-year mark. So who's going to do it? Well, the U.S. government should have been, for the last several decades, shoving money into sustainable energy. Specifically, we should be concentrating on geothermal, wave, tidal, ocean, and high-altitude wind turbines, or high-altitude wind, or power satellites, which are powered by solar. It's kind of the 4 ways the government should have been throwing shitloads of money in, because that is all baseload power. Like, if we could have, there's this one book, The New Human Rights Movement, That's in my required reading. I'll go ahead and share that here as well. I've shared it before, but you're new. This is my policy site. So if you want some books you need to read, The New Human Rights Movement is in here. It is perhaps one of the most important books in the past 50 years. He gives one statistic, doing just some modeling, that if you take a coal mine of a coal plant of a specific size, you can fit 9 geothermal plants in there and basically get 9 times the energy out of that same space. And it's baseload power. Well, coal plants technically are baseload power, but it's sustainable baseload power, 9 times the energy for the same amount of space. If the US government was subsidizing specifically the drilling of the first hole, drilling of the holes, because that's the most expensive part of it, then we could have a huge explosion of, in a good way, of geothermal and baseload power. How we check if the carbon is actually being sequestered? Probably the government. If the private industry is checking itself, they'll probably get innovative and do everything they can to skew the science. Yep, that's exactly right. Well, I mean, there are plenty of scientists out there doing it, right? There's, whatever scientists from climate organizations and weather organizations that are tracking this sort of a thing. I don't know exactly how they're doing it, but scientists have been tracking this stuff for a very long time. So they're the ones who are going to be doing it. It's definitely not the private sector for much of what you're saying that they're going to skew it to make just like was it VW? VW had been skewing their numbers or not reporting their numbers correctly on their cars. They got in serious trouble for that. I think it was because it was a VW bug in that line. It's either VW or BMW, one of the two. They got in trouble for that like last year or the year before. Yeah, you're exactly right. But there are people already checking that stuff, so that's not a problem. So the U.S. government could have been subsidizing geothermal and wave and the research on all these sorts of things, but they haven't been. They've been still subsidizing coal, gas, and specifically oil rigs. I mean, Biden has been pushing for more oil drilling. The car's computer was detecting when it was being smog tested and did things. Yeah, there you go. I think we read one article on this when it was coming out, but that was pretty much it. Okay, good to know. Was it BMW or VW, or am I completely wrong on that? If you want to read more about the climate policy that I have and what I think we should be doing, that is right here. That is one of my largest policies here. There's a lot of things we can do to save humanity from extinction, but it requires the United States to be the global leader. And it requires us to really change the way we do everything. Redoing our cities from the ground up to be basically vertical and greening, rewilding all the other space and shifting to vertical agriculture. We could take 10% of our farmland, turn it into vertical farms, and then we get 2 to 3 times the amount of food out of it, and then we get to rewild the other 90% of the land, which will also act as carbon sequestration. That's the sort of stuff we need to be doing. Yeah, German car company, yep. You think BMW? Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, could probably be, look it up. That's okay. If you want to, great. If not, cool. We're both kind of in the same area, so we're, somewhere over there. None of the Western governments is on track to meet their fair share of the Paris Agreement goals. Why? Because to achieve sufficiently rapid emissions reduction, we require rich economies to dramatically reduce their energy use. Again, like I was saying before when we read this, it's not just about energy use per se, it's where we get our energy from. Again, if we were doing geothermal, tidal, and other sustainable methods, then this would be less of an issue. So it's either dramatically reduce our energy use or dramatically shift to sustainable energy. To manage such an energy descent, rich nations would need to abandon capitalist growth as an objective to shift to a post-growth, post-capitalist system where production and energy use is organized around meeting human needs rather than around elite accumulation. So like we said before, why do you keep doing this? Post-growth, another word for this, I think, is degrowth. So not looking at GDP as the end-all be-all of how our economy is doing. Because much like there's some comics on this sort of thing, like how the GDP doing has nothing to do with how our climate is doing, how sustainability is doing, how poverty levels are doing, and other things, other actual indicators of the health of the people and the environment within the country are doing. So we need better metrics, and GDP based, looking at GDP as the end all be all of how the country is doing is not what we need to be doing. And the book Donut Economics talks about that too. It is unlikely that Western governments will do this voluntarily. Of course not. We can hope that the climate movement will push them, but the movement itself is divided on this issue. With a large faction insisting on growth as usual, why should the South wait around for a miracle to occur? Why gamble everything on the goodwill of states that have never cared about the interest of the South or the welfare of its people? There is another way. Southern governments have the power to force matters and change the course of history. Yes. So much as I was talking about in my post on resource-based economies, Jason Hickel had another, motherfucker, what are you doing? I click and it goes up, driving me nuts. I had another article very similar to this, Decolonizing Africa, which was amazing. It's an amazing read. The key thing to realize is that Western economies and their economic growth depend utterly on labor and resources from the South. This was obvious during the colonial period, and it remains true today. Hundreds of millions of acres of land, tens of thousands of factories, and armies of labor across Asia, Africa, and Latin America are woven into commodity chains that service Western monopolies, supplying them with everything from palm oil to petroleum, computer chips to smartphones. The result is a large net flow of resources out of the South, equivalent to 25% of Western GDP. These capacities could be used to meet local human needs for housing, food, and healthcare, but instead they are appropriated by Western capital. Right, exactly. So this also comes down to one of the things to talk about in policies. We need to look at more powerfully centralizing and hyper-localizing our resources so that if we want communities to be as self-sustainable as possible, so that we have publicly owned energy, publicly owned like vertical farms possibly, and things like that, so that our communities don't have to import as many things, so they can take care of as much of their resources as they can locally, which could very easily be done. And honestly, this is one of the things that Africa and the global South could be doing, and I talk about that in my how a resource-based economy might come into being, where if they concentrate on being as self-sufficient as possible within each country and also within Africa at large, and then tell the global North to go fuck itself, it could radically change everything. Because then they could be independent and start leveraging and start getting start demanding reparations from the global South. I talk about that in my policies. We need to, especially when it comes to climate change, we need to be giving reparations to the global South for all the looting that we've done for hundreds of years. It's about the only way the global South is going to be able to meet anything, because they don't have the money or the resources, because we're taking it all. We need to stop subsidizing oil and burning coal for electricity. Yep, but I'm not sure a complete social overhaul is the only prescription. I guess it comes down to how much carbon we can actually capture. We don't know that type of job. Right, so we can calculate how much we can capture. I mean, there's math to do on that. That's not really a big deal, I mean, for people who have that data. But, I mean, a social overhaul is what we need anyhow, just to change, because we're fucked, because we're capitalists. I mean, the entire world is capitalist. And that is why we have nation states. That's why we have war. That's why we have exploitation and colonialism. That's why the global North is suffering, because the global South is stealing it all, or the global North is stealing it all from them. That's because competition. That's because we're not sharing. And that's, kind of what a resource-based economy gets into. But, as a kind of middle step, yeah, shift to much more hyper-localizing things as much as we can. Making our own energy, making our own foods, vertical farms, and sustainable baseload power is what we need to be doing. This is a travesty of justice, but it is also a point of leverage. At any moment, the South could cut off this flow of wealth. It is within their power to do so. They did it once before in the decades after decolonization, when some radical and progressive governments introduced policies to reclaim economic sovereignty. They used tariffs and capital controls to protect their markets. They nationalized key resources. Yep, that's what they need to be doing. What the son of a balls? I don't know why it's doing that. It's driving me nuts. They nationalized key resources, which is exactly what they need to be doing. They improved labor rights and wages. Yep, need to be doing that. They built public services and developed national industries. Yes, that's exactly the sort of things the Global South should be doing. In short, they mobilized their own resources and labor around meeting their own needs and shifted to trading more with other post-colonial countries. Yep, these ideas were enshrined in the 1974 Kokoyak Declaration and developed by visionary Samir Amin and Thomas Sankara. Okay, yeah, and that's exactly what that's what they should be doing. And what was I going to say? Don't know what I was going to say, but yes, that's exactly right. Oh yes, I was going to talk about the economic warfare through the IMF, International Monetary Fund, and the Global Monetary Fund. So the reason why they can't trade so much with other countries in that area is because when the countries in the Global South get loans from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, or the Global Bank, those loans are contingent upon basically building infrastructure to exploit their resources and send it up to the global north. And they specifically are told that the money that they get from the Global Bank and IMF cannot be used for making life better for the people in their country. So that's a big problem. That's economic warfare or economic racism that the U.S. and the global north is inflicting upon the global south, where they're, again, engaging colonialism on geopolitical scales. That's what the IMF and the Global Bank are. All right. I will skip this one for now. That one is on usability. So my understanding of capitalism as described as Adam Smith is all about allowing legal entities that can be invested in without investors being liable for any more than principal. Oh, right, sure, as an idea, but the end result of capitalism is the accumulation of wealth, the accumulation of wealth, the concentration and accumulation of wealth to the the top 10%, 20%, 1%, or whatever it is. And that always comes at the cost of exploitation and suffering and impoverishment by those at the bottom. You can talk theory all you want, but let's look at the way it actually plays out. Theory is nice, usually doesn't play out the way it theoretically does. China's Belt and Road Initiative includes an alternative better to the World Bank. Could be. I don't know anything about it. If you have any links about it, throw it in. Yeah, China is engaged in some colonialism in the South as well, in Africa specifically. They're not all good, but interesting. Interesting, yeah. Throw some links in there. I'll be interesting to read about that. And talk about the ending of the economic warfare in my policies as well. That's super key. It's going to be very key. And again, the Global South countries can tell them, no, we're not going to pay it. And then concentrate, no, as in, no, China is not all good. Yeah. Okay, what do you mean by that? China is doing some good things, but they're, yeah. Yeah, give me links. Give me links. I want to read. If you have any. All right, so the next bunch we have here is pretty much all climate related. I mean, it's not pure evil. Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying too. Yep. And again, I don't know much about it. I know Bleep Blomp Ben knows a lot more about it, and I like to have him on maybe sometime when I end up streaming more. So all I have is a lot of the propaganda that I've been whacked with as an American. I'd like to learn more about China and what they're doing. All right. Next. Oh. All right, the UN leaders' unique and lonely role on climate. I think I read a good description of Belt and Road in The Economist. Okay, all right, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Okay, the UN leaders' unique and lonely role on climate. All right, let's read this. Among the leaders participating in a virtual climate and energy meeting hosted by the White House Friday morning is a man who has become the voice of climate activists worldwide, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Driving the news, Guterres, who will deliver virtual remarks to the major economics forum and energy and climate, will portray further investments in fossil fuels as a danger and implore leaders to swiftly change course. Yep. Why it matters? Guterres has carved out a distinctly different role on climate compared to his predecessor, Ban Ki-moon. Instead of a bridge builder, Guterres acts as a truth teller and a champion of climate activists and developing country residents who are acutely aware of the present-day damages from climate change. Friday morning, Guterres will tell leaders the first duty of leadership is to protect people from clear and present dangers. Nothing could be more clear or present than the danger of fossil fuel expansion, according to a copy of the speech. Yeah, that's true. Yes, but given the energy crunch in the wake of Russia's unprovoked... Okay, you fucking kidding me? Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine? All right. I'll go over this in short. So it started in 2009. There was some sort of treaty that said that Ukraine would not join NATO. 2014, the United States engaged in a coup of Ukraine, installing a right-wing dictator that would eventually act as our proxy in a war against Russia. Last year, it looks like Ukraine was talking to join NATO, and then Russia lost their mind and attacked, using the cover of Nazis as a way to justify their invasion. So it's not unprovoked. It definitely is provoked by the United States. Guterres is swimming against the tide in trying to speed up climate action now, which is awesome. The big picture, Guterres' speech to the MEF comes as gas prices have eclipsed $5 per gallon in the U.S., and there is domestic political pressure to de-emphasize the White House's climate goals in favor of short-term fossil fuel expansion. Yeah, and I was at my my family's for my niece's, nieces, whatever, birthday, and my whole family is conservative, and one of the relatives that I can talk to politics about, they were talking about this sort of a thing that big problem with so the one relative, it's my sister's husband. He's a car dealer, and he was talking about electric vehicles, and one of the issues we have, of course, is that two things. We don't get into the bigger thing, but that there isn't the infrastructure to necessarily support charging if we switch to all electric vehicles, and also that a lot of our energy being produced in this country is produced by fossil fuels, right? So that's two big issues with it. It's not the cars themselves, although we shouldn't be doing cars. We should be doing mass transportation, because that's the whole that's the other big thing. That's what we should be doing. That's the big problem. That's why Elon Musk isn't the savior we think he is. He's still a techno-capitalist. He's there about money. If he really fucking cared about climate change, he wouldn't be doing electric vehicles. He'd be doing electric trains and things of that nature. Okay, I digress. Meanwhile, other countries such as China are consuming more of Russia's oil and gas and are turning back to coal, the most greenhouse gas-intensive fuel, to generate electricity. So I find that many people that blame the world's problems on capitalism are more frustrated with modern society in general, or specific free market policy. Delete sauce. Electric trains already exist. Yes, they do, but that's not what Tesla's, yeah. Right, I know. And those are the issues with it. That's why Tesla isn't like this huge savior. He should be concentrating on electric trains, right? But he didn't create electric trains, and he didn't innovate on electric trains, and he didn't push out electric trains as a way of getting rid of cars in general. But yes, creating individual cars is always going to be worse than creating mass transportation. Clean coal isn't a thing. Oil is not a thing. Clean coal and oil is not a thing. You're living a lie by just stating those whereas that's not a thing. Not ever a thing. Teslas and electric vehicles are very efficient, more efficient than internal combustion engines by a shitload, by a metric shitload. Check your facts. Watchdog groups warned that these developments are further endangering the Paris climate targets, which no one is going to meet. A few countries in Europe are getting close. Are there even enough materials for batteries and stuff needed for? Right, exactly. No, that's a yes. You're exactly right. That is an exact issue. That's why concentrating on electric vehicles isn't the answer. Concentrating on mass transportation and sustainable energy is the way we need to do. And a lot of this problem is the fact that there's this toxic individualism that comes as a part of capitalism. That's why cars are a thing. Why everyone has a car, because the toxic individual. Teleportation is the answer. Yes, exactly right. I like your world. Yes, definitely. Public transportation. That's exactly what we need to be doing. Talk about that in my policies. That's what we need to be doing. But it's difficult to do that within our organically evolved cities. It's hard to start adding this, sustainable models into these capitalistic cities. We have to build cities from the ground up to be sustainable, to be mass transportation, walk friendly. Like Sweden, I think it is concentrating on getting rid of cars and shifting to bikes. No, Netherlands. I don't know, one of those countries, getting rid of cars, shifting to bikes, and increasing walkable cities and mass transportation, which is exactly what we need to be doing. To an extent, there's more to it. We have self-driving cars, but we don't have self-driving trains. The main problem is that the vulcanized rubber on the asphalt solution doesn't need central pilot in the way the steel solution does. The main problem that the vulcanized, I read this article in some science magazine a long time ago, but the author predicted that we'll be living in a few mega cities around the world, but like 5 cities. Yeah, so we could do that. I wouldn't do 5 cities. So there's this one YouTube channel I follow, Science and Futurism with Isaac Arthur. They are amazing. His channel is amazing. One thing he covers is in arcology, which is basically a giant ass city that is as self-sufficient as possible. But I take this and I combine this with there's no amount you can pay the pilot to ensure he or she will not someday stop the vehicle and demand more. I'd be embarrassed to drive an electric car in my town to be left out of town. It's because you're in the South. He said it would be because of resource scarcity and lowering costs of transport things. Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course. Yep. Yeah. So with our ecologies, if you put one every mile along the coast of this country, according to their calculation, that you could fit the entire population of the United States around the entire perimeter of the United States and completely wild the interior. So wouldn't necessarily have to be 5, but you could do lots of large cities, especially if you built up and you built down, which is what I talk about. We have the technology to kind of do this today, but it will be we'll only be able to go so high until we unlock fusion. Then we can go basically what I call star scrapers, cities that go all the way up to basically where a space elevator goes, and then bloop, takes you from there. Yeah, that's what we need to be doing. We need to be rebuilding our cities from the ground up to be vertical, going up and going down below the ground, doing both. If we can, maybe just one or the other, I don't know. And yes, that'll make them to be as self-sufficient as possible. And then yes, mass transportation, all those sorts of things is the way to do it. That way you reduce the cost for transporting things and production and all that sort of stuff, which is a huge amount of carbon dioxide and other losses that increases in efficiency, scarcity, and all that sort of thing. Yes, that's definitely what we need to be doing. If you want to read more about how I talk about that, that's in my environmental policy. Need to restructure our cities. My hands? Oh, so yeah. I have a repetitive strain injury, which is kind of a precursor to carpal tunnel. I've had it for over a decade. I just wear these braces. It doesn't look too good on camera, but it just helps to keep my hands better so that it mitigates most of the damage. I need to get some massages for my hands, do some more stretching, and they'll be in better shape. But these do most of the work. So yeah, there's my environmental policies. Talk about sustainable energy and changing our city infrastructure and all sorts of things in there. You want to really see what we need to do on a massive scale. And this is, basically what I've said on my channel is that when looking at the climate policies of like Dementia Joe or anyone, if what they're putting forward as a policy is not in the level of $10 trillion a year for 10 years or some shit like that, they're effectively voting for extinction, because that's the level of change that we need in order to initiate the changes to sustainable energy, to redoing our infrastructure, our cities, and everything from the ground up. All right, zoom in. Against the backdrop of these geopolitical headwinds, Guterres has issued increasingly dire warnings associated with climate science reports and addressed recent confabs in Davos and the Austrian World Summit. His statements are not subtle, and while they often travel far in the press, they can fail to move some world leaders, of course, because again, they are driven and controlled by capitalist forces. There isn't money to be made in saving the world from extinction. What they're saying, even in the short term, fossil fuels don't make political or economic sense. Yep, Guterres will tell leaders from 23 nations today. Yet we seem trapped in a world where fossil fuel producers and financiers have humanity by the throat. Yep, senior UN officials told Axios that today's speech will be free of diplomatic niceties. Describing the remarks, the advisor stated, even given the Secretary General's impressive track record of speaking truth to power, this is a blistering intervention to the leaders of the world's largest economies. That's where you're wrong, kiddo. Lots of money made where people... Well, okay, all right. There's that is true. That is true. Isn't global cooling a bigger threat than warming? Well, no, because that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. What J Elite Sauce? They say, is it really good business sense to actually cure cancer? That was said like last year or the year before. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Depending on the issue, yes, there's money to be made in that. But yeah, you're right. You're totally right. So, if the environment is warming, global cooling is definitely not the problem. And those things are kind of mutually exclusive. And even if you're Curly Bear, how you doing? Welcome back. Which part? Even if you're looking at the world is going through every 10,000 years it's going through a cycle where is it good to cure cancer? Yeah, there was some Wall Street dude giving some presentation that's listed on my healthcare policies too. There's a link to that, I think. Maybe there is. That he said at this thing when he was given a presentation that it's probably not good to use gene therapy as a way to cure cancer because it would get rid of their income stream, something like that. But he said it much more, politically. If you could actually control the climate, wouldn't we just start fighting over the thermostat? Well, yeah, we probably would, actually. That's the way it is in my house. I need it cool, otherwise I can't sleep, and the wife would like it if it was a rainforest in here. Okay, doing chores. Gotcha. Oh, yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Andrew Yang proposed $4 trillion a year a UBI system. I thought $1 trillion was a lot. Then we had COVID stimulus. Yeah, it's not a lot. It's amazing. See, here's the thing. The way monetary systems work, the way federal fiscal policy works is Congress passes a bill, then the money is added to the appropriate congressional spending account, and then they spend it. Right? So, yeah, and if you look at what's happening with Ukraine, they're passing inflation is theft. Inflation is theft. Well, look at what's happening right now, right? I mean, it's not inflation what we're having now because the companies are having record profits. That's crisis profiteering. We don't have inflation right now. We have crisis profiteering. Companies that are inflating prices just because they know it's going to be okay because people are talking about the inflation thing. So they're making historic profits. Right, it is theft. It very much is theft. But that's what capitalism is. Capitalism is theft. Theft of life, theft of property, theft of everything. All for the profit of the very few. Yeah, so if you look at the money that's being sent over to Ukraine, they just pass a bill and the money's there and they spend it. Your mortgage payment is easier because of inflation? It could be because well, interest rates are probably going down. Are they? No, they should be going up. Interest rates should be going up as a way to mitigate inflation. But yeah. So yes, so Congress passes a bill and the money's there. So that's what all that money that's being going over to Ukraine, that's the way it was done. Every time there's war, they just pass a bill and then there we go. But when it comes to universal health care, UBI, they just all of a sudden the money's not there. It's like, how are you going to pay for it? They never, ever pay for anything when war is involved. Never, ever, ever. Interest rates are going up. Yeah, they should be going up to compensate for inflation. Mortgage interest rates are going up, but are still historically low. Yeah, I saw some at like 2%, which is, I need to refinance. Guess I'm stealing from the mortgage company. My rate is fixed. Yeah, I currently have... well, actually, we're in the process of selling a rental property. That one is on adjustable rate. Hopefully, that cuts. Yes, pay-go. Yes, I talk about that in my policies. The things that we need to get rid of. Yeah, so pay-go only gets instituted when it's not war. I talk about that here. Political reform, I think. Economic. Yeah. I'm not sure how that all fits together. I need to know more about this, honestly. Yeah, get rid of the debt ceiling, get rid of the bird rule, get rid of the pay-go rule. Emergencies don't count. Gotcha. I really need to know more about this, how this all works together. I need to find time to see how all this wacky congressional spending garbage works. All right. So, like, for the United States could just pass a bill and, pass $10 trillion to go towards climate change and invest in geothermal energy and tidal energy and, even wind and solar as well. They just pass the bill, the money's there. And then especially if they start throwing shitloads of money towards tidal and wave, which we need a shitload of money going towards that because that's what we need to be using for baseload energy and possibly also for high altitude wind turbine. We could see an explosion in those technologies and innovation in those areas, which we desperately need for sustainable base load power. But they're not going to do that because the fossil fuel industry controls the government. Okay, of note, the MEF meeting will be the first time the UN leader will compare the past tactics employed by the oil and gas industry to mislead the public about the consequences of its products with those of the tobacco industry, the senior UN official said. That's good. For decades, the fossil fuel industry has invested heavily in pseudoscience and public relations with a false narrative to minimize their responsibility for climate change and undermine ambitious climate policies, Guterres will state. They exploited precisely the same scandalous tactics as big tobacco decades before. Yeah, and they also say that they are, working for, towards shifting to better stuff while still funding dark climate denial groups. Meanwhile, at the MEF meeting, Biden and international partners will put forward a new initiative to tackle methane emission leaks from the oil and gas sector and projects to advance clean tech investment and work to decarbonize marine shipping. And yet he's still signing a bunch of oil stuff in oil drilling. A lot of new permits for that. China's chief climate negotiator, Xi Zhenhua, will represent that country, which is currently the world's biggest emitter at the MEF. Okay, so there you go. That's that one. And this is what we really need. If this guy can come out swinging and just state it the way it is, that's what we need. This is really what we need. We are far beyond the time of tiptoeing and talking nice about it. We're all gonna fucking die, and it's gonna be horrible in the next 100 to 200 years. That's what we need, and the global north needs to be held accountable as well, because global north is the primary problem. Arrgh. All right, any questions, comments, or suggestions before we move on? Whew. I need to get a drink here. Possibly. I hadn't really considered it, actually. Okay, code answer. Don't hurt yourself over it. But I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah, J Lead. I might be. I don't know. I'm so small that it doesn't really matter. But you never know. So yeah, if I need to, I use NoScript to get beyond the paywalls. If I can. I can't always get beyond it. Some are coded well enough that I can't get beyond it. But like these, I haven't done anything to. I haven't had to do anything to any of the articles I'm reading today. Fortunately. Yeah, primarily terms of service with music. Yeah, I've gotten whacked with that. I get whacked with that on YouTube as well. YouTube is pretty fucking draconian about that. Yeah, the music I'm playing here is from Stream Beats from Harris Heller. It's all royalty free and everything. Yeah. So I studied asset protection a long time ago, specifically through trust. There's lots of ways that the rich can go through to protect their assets. There are lawyers and people who specialize in that sort of thing. Yeah, it's very possible, especially in the United States, to hide your assets. And ProPublica has put out quite a few different articles talking about that, specifically looking at the data that's out there. Yep. It's very possible. If you've got the money, you can hire enough lawyers to make sure your stuff gets hidden. Got layers of businesses. Yes, makes you a less viable candidate for a lawsuit. Yep. From their initial financial formulas they run. Yep, exactly right. That's exactly why it's done. Like, I have a few small businesses, and that's one of the reasons why you have small businesses. And you have an LLC, and you follow the rules for finances to make sure that they can't tear through the veil between personal and business. Yep. You can make memes with copyrighted images, and nobody will go after you. Some shady sites rip off news articles verbatim, and nobody cares. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Well, what I'm doing would be considered fair use, I'm pretty sure. As long as I don't bypass their stuff, I think. But right, there are some that do that. I had someone take an entire page of mine from my blog and post it to theirs. I was like, what? Son of a bitch. I was talking about setting up trust in Wisconsin to hold your assets. Yep, like you still own the stuff, but it's harder for them to see. Yep, exactly. Yep, trust. I read when I was into this. There's a book like this thick. It's fucking thick. Of the complete book of trusts. This is 20 years ago. I read the whole thing when I was very heavy into reading about investing and stuff like that. Yeah, there are so many different trusts that you can use to protect your stuff. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, you do trusts with businesses, LLCs, and corps and stuff like that. And yeah, you can really hide your stuff well enough, especially if you have enough money, enough levels of obfuscation, doing it right. Sure, go ahead. If you modify a song and add new stuff to it and change it around substantially, the Recording Artists Association thinks you owe them. Flat Earth, I didn't I checked it out on stream, Flat Earth Bill. I think when we were here, I don't think I went more into it. Go ahead and share it again. So I don't have so much time to do anything anymore, but share it again. I'll see if I can find some more time. Yeah, Jay Lead, if you can find that link, sure, throw that in here. I'll be interested to take a look at it. Okay, then.
Hey, guys.
Toby Mathis, text, and asset protection. Yep, okay. All right, cool. I'll take a look at it. Yeah, I clicked around, but I hadn't read anything specifically. Okay, cool. I'll take a look at that later. All right, thanks for sharing again. Appreciate that. All right. Getting warm in here. All right, let's go on to the next one. Asset protection. Actually, if I get our rental properties sold, I'll be probably looking at getting, what is it? Some sort of, oh, thanks so much for the, oh, I appreciate that. If they do sue you, all that hidden stuff will get disclosed in court proceedings. Security through obscurity, yep. Exactly. Fritz Fartling Shaft. Thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. I have one property. We're in the process of right now selling it to our tenant. Just as I've gotten into this leftist stuff, I'm starting to be starting to feel a little saying that I am is I don't want to lose my leftist card, so I gotta sell that. Please don't hate me. But part of this is actually we're going through that the bankruptcy proceeding, so we're selling that to her, to our tenants, to help deal with that sort of stuff. We're planning on selling it anyhow because of climate change, frankly, but yeah, we're selling it to her. I'm happy. She's happy. It's going well. Hopefully, in the next week or two, we'll be able to get that finalized. I'll be glad. I know. Please don't unfollow me, Curly Bear. I love you. I know. I felt bad about it as we get into, all the shit that's going on with the market, the real estate market, and Zillow and BlackRock buying up all the rental properties and all that sort of stuff. It's pretty insane what's happening. Again, it's that concentration of wealth in the top whatever percent. Well, I was generating a little bit off it, not a lot. I mean, in almost a decade, we only raised it $50, and we kept it fairly reasonable. I wasn't really looking to. We will make a profit only because of how ridiculous the market is now. I mean, the market is ridiculous. It is so ridiculous. It's so pumped up. We're getting a little bit of income off it, not a lot. Not a lot. I wasn't really concentrating so much on that aspect as I was more looking at it in the long term for just paying off the mortgage so I don't have to do it. Right, exactly. And that's exactly why I have to sell it so I can keep my left card. Capitalism is not the best. Capitalism is the devil. It is the devil. Not yet. We're still working on it. It's been a long process because first I didn't have a job. We were going to do Chapter 13 so we could kind of keep the... Right, and then we have to deal with that I'll talk to our bankruptcy attorney to figure out how that's going to fit into things. We can use it for certain things and certain things we can't. There's a whole bunch of rules for it. So we'll figure out what we'll do with it after it. No. God, no. I think Biden specifically made sure that we couldn't get rid of that because fuck Biden, right? Yeah, so it's been taking us a long time because right when we were going to file, I found out my job was ending. So I still had found out 3 or 4 months before. So we stopped it, and then now that I have a new job, now we're in the process of starting it again. Landlords are awesome. I bet very few landlords are actually awesome. Rent is high because of taxes. It's not really high because of taxes. I mean, my taxes aren't that high. The mortgage is the largest part of it. And then taxes, then insurance. Aaron, okay, good for you. Property taxes, which powers the local governments and stuff like that. Oh, also, there's tax on the income as well. So, yeah, our income from that does get taxed. I don't know what the rate is on that. I don't care. Right. Yeah, schools and roles in the county board and the county stuff like that. Yep. Exactly. Yeah, and that's when we look at education, government spending. Well, you see, that's the problem. It's only 1%, and they're shit. So we need a massive infrastructure injection for spending. Roads are fucking garbage. I haven't. Well, I had to stop because we had extreme. Oh my fucking god, dude. Teachers are very much underpaid. They should be one of the highest paid professions in the whole world. So no, I had to stop this last year because of I had medical issues, my job was ending, financial issues. I might next year. We'll see. Do you know that America is one of the only countries to have standing tax on any property owned in person? I don't believe that. Teachers, doctors, and scientists are the most overpaid people in the world. Oh my God, you must. Yeah, okay. We know you're a right winger, so that explains that. Half your rent goes towards paying tax. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. You're totally wrong, Gorilla. Well, I've got a good deal because mine is on a veteran-backed mortgage, so my thing is pretty low comparatively. So let's say $550 is my mortgage, and then, well, my property taxes are pretty high. That's like $1,800 a year. So that's like $200 something dollars a month. So that's like a third. So it's about a third, a little less than a third. We spend more money on education per student than all. Yeah, we do, but we also get shit for it because we don't have because the right wingers keep gutting our education. Dumber than shit. No, they are, according to the statistics. Moderate right wing, although I do support Trump and DeSantis. No, if you support them, you're not moderate. You're definitely far right. Europeans need an excuse for why they're better than America because look at it. America invented the car, the TV. Okay, Europe was invented. It's not quite that simple. My wife is from Belarus. You're right, it's not because it's a fascist, completely fascist state, which is a proxy for Putin. And yet the people there love him because reasons, I guess. Like blah blah blah. Look at Switzerland, Umbra. Switzerland is literally bank-propped microstate that has tons of financial tourism. Yep. Yeah. So. See, that's the big issue we have with the United States. We spend shitloads of money on stuff, and we have shitty results from it. Our healthcare system is fucked because it's privatized. Our education system gets completely gutted year after year by right-wingers. And of course, Democrats don't help that much either because they are also right-leaning, center-right. We have in this country, we have no actual left-leaning party. We have two right-wing parties, and that's pretty much it. We have two 1% parties and no party for the 99%. It's not the regulation. It's not the licenses. That's not the problem. It's capitalism. That's the problem. It's competition. It's marketing. It's lack of regulation. That is what is causing the problem. Since today is over. Bureaucracy, sure. The bureaucracy is because it's privatized. If you had universal health care, you could get rid of that bureaucracy. You could get rid of so many things. We could cut the expenses for healthcare in basically half and get significantly better everything and get healthcare for everyone. Everyone needs 100 certifications. I wouldn't want someone who's not... lawsuits, yes, that is part of it, definitely. I vote straight ticket Republican without doing any research. It isn't worth the effort and doesn't change the outcome. Well, it goes both ways, yeah. Everybody's scared of being sued for $10 million, so they sit there. Right, and there is truth to that. There is truth to that. And that is a problem. That's part of the issues with capitalism in this society. And honestly, the way to fix that is part of the way is to make sure that all lawyers are public servants and none of them are private. Yes, they should be. Pharmaceuticals should be freely available at Walmart. Agreed. Uh-huh. I voted green. I vote green, that's how I vote. Because Republicans and Democrats, there's nothing good comes of either of them. I'd rather vote for what I want and not get it than not vote for what I want and get what I don't want. Something like that. New hospitals. Okay, new laws and reform. Judges are stupid. They award random people $10 million for common mistake done by some. Green Party. Green Party. I know, right? Green? What the hell's that? Yeah, in 2012, when I found out about them, I'm like, who the fuck are these guys? They should run everything. I had no idea. No idea. Of course, I was just kind of beginning my journey into politics at that point, but Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's great, Jesus Christ. She's a fucking stupid broad. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. She's a prime example of why we need universal education. Oh my God. I'm moderate. That's why I don't do vote red. The left-wing party is Nazi. Germany isn't left-wing, it's centrist. No, any fascist state is automatically right-wing because conservatism is fascist, period. It's overt fascism, whereas Democrats, they are right-wing, they're center-right. They are also fascist, but they're less overt. They're fascist with better marketing. If it's right wing, it's right wing. If it's not, it's not. Nazis are not. They're not far left. No. They do have socialist party. They do have things that are socialized, but that doesn't make them left leaning. Left leaning economically, okay, sure. But they had socialist policies, but they weren't left leaning at all. Because they were fascist, they were automatically right leaning. Yep, social and economic. Yep, and on me, if you look at the X, I'm way the fuck down here. Right against the wall. Yeah, they definitely were. They definitely were. Looking at, murdering people with the disabilities, the old, people of color. I mean, they were pretty eugenic based. It's all woke nonsense. See, you're showing your privilege. Your white male privilege is showing right there, dude. Privilege is showing real hard. Murdering people with disabilities wasn't uncommon back then. Oh, that's true. That might be a thing. Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. That is fair. That is true. But making it a government policy, well, actually, they made that government policy too, medical policy. Yeah, it was bad to do that. Messed up. World War I was pretty nutters. World War I was pretty nutters. Definitely was. Starts to happen when you start killing foreigners and migrants. Well, the problem starts when you dehumanize any group and think it's okay to kill any of them. Those with disabilities, those without disabilities, those with different skin colors. Yeah, lobotomy was a big thing back there. Yeah, they did that to women. They did that to everyone. Just because science wasn't advanced enough to know what to do with them, so they, sterilized and lobotomized. Yep, that's exactly right. It wasn't considered that messed up. Yeah, no, exactly right. 100 years ago was not a pleasant place to be. Definitely not arguing that. We are fortunate. Well, we're not that far beyond that now because we've got overturning of Roe versus Wade. Nazi genocide was more important than them killing disabled people. The guy that said doctors should wash hands. Yeah, the guy who said you should wash your hands to prevent infections, he lost his license and stuff like that. I read something about that fairly recently. Yeah, it's you challenge the status quo with something that's right, and they're gonna fight against you because no one wants to think they're wrong, especially in mass. No, about licenses aren't the problem. Jesus Christ, dude. So you want an unlicensed doctor to operate on you? Someone who hasn't met a certain standard? God, your privilege is showing. Your sociopathy, it's anti-free market. No, it's very free market. Licenses are very free market. If you don't have the money to do the license, then that's capitalism, bitch. They're not, well, some might be. You don't need medicine? All you need is Jesus. That's all you need. Eat some grass, walk it off. Rub some dirt on it. I think medicine does help a little bit. A little bit. Polio and you can't well, right, but that's capitalism. That's capitalism right there, because we have privatized stuff. If you get rid of you have universal health care, you could do that. Capitalism does make the medicine. That's why people are dying. That's why people are rationing insulin and dying. That's totally what capitalism is. It's murdering people for fun and corporate profit. That is the epitome of what capitalism is. Medicine makes you soft. You should be able to go to your Uncle Roger, who has a hacksaw, and if he does a good job, and you think he knows what he's doing, what's the problem? Well, that's one way to weed out the stupid, I suppose. Whereas if you get rid of if you enact universal health care, you get rid of all those problems. Okay, all right, let's get one more article done before we call this a day, because we're coming up on my in 20 minutes will be my the end of my stream. There's a lot of hysteria about, oh no, what if doctors don't go to college for 15 years and then the internet's for 5? What will we do? It's not 20 years. What is it? So 8? Well, it is quite a long time. You got a doctor, so that's 8 years, then another few years of whatever. 3 years at college, 2 to 5 years experience to become professional in it. Doctors are like, no. It's not 20 years. You have to get your doctorate's degree, right? You're be a doctor and get your PhD in whatever in doctor. Then yeah, you have to do your internship or whatever, and then licensing and stuff like that. Well, you definitely want people who are going to operate on you to definitely know what they're doing. 10 years of college, 5 years basically. Okay. Well, got somebody new here. Can't read his name. Raw87, how you doing? Welcome. Yes, shitty engineer can kill a lot more people. Yep. Coca-Cola's based. Is it a base? I think it is a base. Yeah, because we had that Florida apartment building collapse, right? Engineers don't have licenses. Oh, that's interesting. What is it? Civil engineering? You do have to be licensed in Wisconsin. Well, anyone can call themselves a doctor too. Well, that doesn't make them one. Licensing. It's not a protected title. Fair. It can be witch doctors. Yeah, that's true. I'm pretty sure there's licensing here in Wisconsin. I was talking with someone I know from a place that does this. They do have licensing that they have to meet. A regular doctor versus a non-regular doctor. The free market regulates itself. It doesn't. Oh, okay, it does. But the end result of the market regulating itself is the concentration of wealth in a small minority while the rest of us die. As a doctor is one diagnosis and two operate. Well, that is true. I mean, it's there's a lot of issues with our medical as well, because there's a separation involved with medicine. It's not more holistic. One of the things that we need to do is look at the environment, much more systemic. What is it? Biopsychosocial model. When it comes to that sort of a thing, it's not just, diagnose, but what are they eating? What is their exercise? What's the home life like? And so on. It's not where you living. Is it polluted, right? It's much more, it's not as easy as just going to the doctor. Lawyers shouldn't be abolished. They should be all made public servants. They should be public servants. I know, lawyer, no, they're nobody's friend because, again, capitalism, that's why. No problem though, you don't need a license to become a nutritionist. Right, it's like nutritionist or dietitian. One of them is, the other isn't. You're right. I don't know which it is. All right, there you go. Lawyers are needed in capitalism because exploitation. What? Oh my God. Okay, all right, let's get this. Let's read this one. Get this done before we call this a day. Coca-Cola among brands greenwashing over packaging, report says. Research exposes litany of misleading claims by household names, including Coca-Cola and Unilever. Claims about plastic packaging being eco-friendly made by big brands, including Coca-Cola and Unilever, are misleading greenwashing. According, okay, Jesus Christ. I hate it when these things repeat things. It just drives me nuts. Waste my time. No, licenses are free market. Because it's another way for the free market to decide who they want to hire and who they don't. You could say licenses are classist. That would be true. Because only those who are of means have the ability to get licenses. I know. A few have popped in now. It's just interesting. The Changing Markets Foundation says claims that companies are intercepting and using ocean-bound or recyclable plastic to tackle the plastic pollution crisis are some of the most common examples of greenwashing. Yep. The claims are made with little proof about how the product addresses the crisis in plastic pollution, the report says. It says that this is done to obscure the real impact of plastic from customers. Yeah, there was I shared this, I think, in my Discord, this other show from years ago that ended that talked about something similar to this. The workers exploit the capitalist. George Harding Rolls, campaign manager at Changing Markets Foundation, said our latest investigation exposes a litany of misleading claims from household names consumers should be able to trust. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and it is of crucial importance that regulators take this issue seriously. The free market works better when there's... No, my God, dude. Oh my God. Glass bottles. Yeah, I mean, there's definite advantages to it. Want to become famous? Buy followers. Oh my God. Definitely not. Guess I'm going to have to ban this guy. Glass bottles might be one of the ways to go through and get rid of some of the pollution from plastic or even paper. The cardboard sorts of containers. The industry is happy to gloat its green credentials with little substance on the one hand, while continuing to perpetuate the plastic crisis on the other. We are calling out greenwashing so that the world can see that voluntary action has led to a market saturated with false claims. It's not, they're not having a party. Drill. Yeah, so we're having the attic turned into office for me. The amazing contractor is there, and he's putting in the floor. Hopefully I'll be into the new office next week, hopefully by Tuesday, Wednesday. So he's just getting the finishing touches of it. If you want to go to my Discord, there's some pictures of it in there. Glass bottles. Think of the kids. Well, yeah, no, that's a valid concern, most definitely. But so a large part of this discussion here is that, again, the problems with capitalism is that that everything is so individualized. We don't get things in bulk. Everything is individually packaged, and it's not done sustainably. Again, this comes down to the toxic individuality that capitalism promotes instead of doing what is best for our communities in, on a large scale, like centralizing stuff and making sure that, you don't have individual plastic containers, but you get larger containers that come to you and are like maybe metal, or which can be recycled, or glass, which can be recycled, or other things that can be recycled, and they're permanent. Say, don't need to be a socialist to recognize unregulated capitalism is extremely harmful and self-interested in their own wealth. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. It should be, but XX up here he's a right winger and he's all about the free market. It's not everyone. It's going to be like half of the country isn't going to be able to see it at the very minimum, because of the brainwashing of right wingism and the worshiping of capitalism as a religion. It's difficult because many of them speak from a position of privilege. It's hard to see beyond that privilege to see the harm that it causes when, you don't care about people being murdered. Oh, right. Yeah, but just supply side Jesus. Our XX above just said, I think he was happy about that, and it just drives me nuts. Yeah, they gutted the EPA, and, I cover climate change here, and we're all going to die. There's going to be okay, we're not going to die from this, but there's going to be massive, global extinction. And the Supreme Court gutted the EPA. We're fucked. We are completely fucked. Just take mine. You can take my supply side economics too, because fuck that noise. I didn't vote for it. Okay. The analysis, which is being presented on the CMF website, says claims by Kim Kardashian's clothing company Skims on its compostable underwear packaging, which states "I am not plastic," are undermined by the small print saying this product is plastic type 4 or LDPE, low density polyethylene. Right, and that's just what it is. They say one thing, but what does it really mean? It's not what they say, because certain things are regulated as to what you can say in advertising, and certain things aren't, and that's where they take advantage of it. Coca-Cola, the report says, has spent millions promoting an innovation which says that its bottles are 25% marine plastic, but does not mention that the company is the world's biggest plastic polluter. The makers of Mentos Mints, Perfetti Van Mel, make grand eco-claims about new cardboard box packaging, the report says, but they fail to mention the packaging is unrecyclable composite material made out of card, aluminum, and plastic. I'm not familiar in details with these types, but you get numbering on packages. Yeah, with rates then by, yes, that's exactly right. I'm not either. I'm not either. And I just put it all in there and let them sort it out. And that's a large part of the problem, that a lot of this isn't easily recyclable, or we don't have the infrastructure available to recycle it. Jendrick Bender, how you doing? Almost. It's been a while. How you doing? Welcome. You've caught me in the last 10 minutes of the stream, so we're trying to get through this while we cycle through the craziness in chat right now. Maybe one of the streams we'll have to sit down and look at the classifications of plastic and see what is or isn't recyclable. I know I do cover a lot of sustainability here. I know there are companies out there that do recycle all plastic. Basically, they'll grind it up into little things, melt it, and put it together so that others can use it. All right. In Spain, after the EU ban on plastic cutlery, the biggest supermarket chain Mercadona rebranded the cutlery as reusable instead of providing alternatives. The report singled out Tesco for its claims that its flexible plastic packaging is new, improved, and recyclable, but to be recycled, customers have to take the packaging back to larger stores, and even then, it is unlikely to be recycled. Instead, it will almost certainly be exported, incinerated, or sent to landfill, the report says. Ugh. I'm very pessimistic about halting climate change, but I still want to have kids. Yeah, no, I feel you, dog. I have a daughter, and basically what I say here, I'm completely climate doomer here. We just read this article, which, this one? 3.2, which said that towards the end of the, we're headed to 3.2 degrees at the end of the century, which I wasn't aware it was this bad. But it's going to be bad. The effects of climate change, we're already feeling them now. We are, as far as I'm concerned, we are in the end of days at climate scales. Yeah. No joke. No joke, dude. If only I was that rich to be able to do that. If I had the money, I would build a house as a bunker underground. That is what I would do. Yikes. Bottles of Procter & Gamble's Head & Shoulders shampoo are being promoted as made out of beach plastic, but the bottle is dyed blue, meaning it cannot be recycled further, the report says. The fact that we're having conferences about how we have conferences that don't meet the basic climate goals, so we are planning more conferences. Yes, that is exactly right. Yeah, and you know the hypocrisy of COP26. Everyone flew over there. It was Glasgow, right? They flew into Glasgow for COP26. They flew into Glasgow. Climate change. They're flying. It's fucking stupid. Stupid. Sorry. Unilever has replaced recyclable PET bottles of washing liquid with pouches as a part of its push to encourage refills. But the pouches are not recyclable and only contain 2 refills, the report says. Yeah, Scotland, okay. If they're real climate activists, they would have so wham. Yeah. Well, to be fair, flying is a small. It is yeah. There's truth in that. It is more economical than driving or taking a boat or something like that. That is fair. That is fair. Well, a lot of them probably didn't fly on commercial lines, so there is that issue. But yes. The examples show brands are presenting materials and selling products claiming they are better for the environment when they are either difficult to recycle, not recyclable at all, or just a small fraction of ocean-bound plastic collected through various cleanups. Is just with having conferences for decades. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And the article I posted on COP26, I'll go ahead and pull this up for you. People were talking about that in there too. I did kind of a review of COP26. Here it is. I talk about that in there. Yeah, it's, this is the first conference where they were actually able to name any fossil fuel by name. They weren't able to say fossil fuels. They weren't able to say gas or coal or anything. This is the first time that they were to say fossil fuel. And at the COP26, the large number of people that were there for the fossil fuel industry. It's insane. I mean, it's insane how much power that they have. I mean, yeah, we're doomed. That's exactly right. That's exactly where we're going. Now, I say we're doomed, but also I have policies here on what we need to do to fix it. If you want to see my policies on how we save humanity from extinction, my policies are here. Not that anyone else will be supporting these sorts of things, but it's there in case you want to see what it might look like while you're crying yourself to sleep at night, rocking on the floor in fetal position, like I do every single night. I know, me too. Me too. When I saw the Amazon was on fire, I almost got out of politics. I mean, I don't talk about my personal stuff at all, but on Facebook I said, I'm thinking about getting out of it because what's the point? The Amazon is on fire. We're fucked. But I did keep going because I'm here, right? No, I get you, dog. Don't let it get you helpless. Let it radicalize you. Let it piss you off. Understand we're doomed, but not to mention, yeah, Australia was on fire and people were Yep. Yep. You should make. I do it. I do. That's exactly what I want to do. J Elite Sauce. I want to build a bunker home. If I had, tens of hundreds of millions of dollars, that's exactly what I would do. Billion. Yeah. Well, every year we're using species. Every year. Yep. It's like 75% of all species that existed on the planet are gone in the last 100 years or so. Yep. That's what's happened. I wouldn't do solar panels. I would try and do geothermal. 3 billion animals got hurt. Wow. Son of a bitch. Damn it, capitalism. You killed the dinosaurs. Ah. Well, technically, chickens and birds are dinosaurs, right? Is that where you're going? Yeah, there you go. There you go. Alligators. Sure, the dinosaurs that we think about in the books, not the relatives of the dinosaurs. Okay, brands have been exploiting this over recent years using the age-old marketing techniques that are totally misleading or downright fake, pretending that the problem is being fixed when actually it's getting worse. With plastic production set to treble by 2040, are you fucking kidding me? Greenwash.com exposes these false green claims for what they are: daylight robbery of the consumer's right and ability to judge the product. Yeah. Yes. Put dino fossils to test. Yes, that's exactly right. That is exactly right. That's exactly right. Fossils are there to test our faith. That is exactly fucking right. You crack me up. All right. The Changing Markets Foundation, along with Zero Waste Europe, is calling for closed-loop recycling systems. Yes, this is exactly what we need. Closed-loop recycling systems and effective deposit return systems to tackle the plastic pollution problem. We must embrace systemic solutions. Exactly right. Such as absolute reduction in plastic packaging and mandatory deposit return systems. Yes, that's a good way to start. Plastic packaging in the UK makes up nearly 70% of all the country's plastic waste. Less than 10% of everyday plastic, including plastic packaging, gets recycled. Yeah, almost none of it gets recycled because, it's everywhere. Tesco said all the soft plastic we collect will be sorted in the UK from later this year, ensuring it stays out of landfill and is recycled into a range of items. We welcomed recent legislative measures to increase the consistency of curbside collections for plastic recycling. Tesco said it was not the case that its soft plastics ended up in the landfill or incinerated. The company said since 2021, it was finding a use for the soft plastic packaging it collects in stores and has trialed recycling soft plastic into cheese packaging. Coca-Cola said, we don't want any of our packaging end up where it shouldn't, and we are working hard to be part of the solution. No, you're not. All of our bottles in Great Britain are 100% recyclable, and we aim to collect and recycle a bottle or can for every one we sell by 2030 globally. Okay, 2030 is better. You should be aiming for that by 2020. 2019, oh my God, by 2020, okay, 2030 is fine. Yeah, we're kind of past that mark already. 2019, about 300 sampled Coca-Cola bottles were developed using recover and recycled marine plastics with the aim to demonstrate that one day ocean debris could be used in recycled packaging. Innovative trials like this are essential to finding scalable solutions to reduce the amount of packaging we use. Oh, we can just get off plastic packaging altogether. And if you go to my Discord and into my policies and then to environment, I post a lot of sustainability stuff there. I just watched a video on using seaweed for biodegradable plastics, bioplastics, using mushrooms and mycelial mass from mushrooms and algae and seaweed as ways of making stuff that will biodegrade and not cause harm. Procter & Gamble said our Head & Shoulders Ocean Clean bottle was one of the first steps on our ongoing responsible beauty journey responsible beauty journey and helped us to learn about the use of PCR within our products. This pack is no longer available to buy in the UK, but we can confirm that it was recyclable. We don't yet have all the answers, but remain committed to ensuring Head & Shoulders is a force for good within beauty. A spokesperson for Perfetti Van Mel was not available to comment. The other brands named did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Okay, there we go. We got through it. All right, you people. We've reached the end of the stream. You have this moment to leave any last-minute question, comments, or suggestion, however random or whatever, before I call this a day. Curly Bear, thank you. I'm so glad you made it. I really am. You made it for the whole stream too. That is amazing. Hope your visit with your family goes well with your kids and stuff like that. Have a great weekend and great drive. It's 2.5 hours is a drive. I will. The wife is off doing a yoga retreat all weekend. She'll be back on Sunday. I'm home alone. I'm not doing anything interesting. Just trying to survive the child. It's her birthday weekend. Yeah, me too. Me too, very much. Anybody else? Last minute comments? Before we call this a day. Again, currently I am streaming just once a week on Saturday at, 2 Central. And today I started late because my morning got so late. But 2 Central, build your... I wish I could. Believe me, dog. I would be building one if I could. I just need to be a millionaire or a multi-millionaire so I have the money to do it. The wife won't like it, but I can do it. We'll see. We'll see. Challenge accepted. Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? Anybody? Last call for alcohol? Nobody? All right. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for gifting me with your time. Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Stay COVID free. And hopefully we'll see you guys again next Saturday. Peace out. Bye. Good night.
Now it's just me and you. Let's make up all the rules.